Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lost Initiative bonus session. So most of us did not actually want to play today, but I just want to say
blackmail.
Yeah.
What I do?
Wade is.
You're the reason we're here today.
It was Wade.
Yeah, okay.
I was told we could play today if I had blackmail, and I was like, well, we have one.
Oh, so this can't all be my fault.
No, it's your.
No. Spin this positively.
We can try to make it your fault. This is a
no. Spin this positively. You're supposed to be my friends. Come on.
Oh.
I need the.
Oh, we're here to celebrate you.
Yeah, there we go.
Scott finally has your birthday gift.
I do.
Holy shit!
Oh shit! I took the wrong car today. Oh, I swear it's in the trunk of my car, but I get the minivan.
But you're at home.
What? No.
Just go get it.
I'm all the way.
No, we can wait. We'll fill time. Yeah. You go get that. That's awesome. I can't believe he got my birthday present. It's been a while. It's been months.
I'm the bard now.
I have a totally brand new crock pot. Is
there a dent in the
crock pot for you?
You could have so easily hidden that dent. No, it's too late now. We already saw it.
Oh, you hit it with your car?
You dented it running down here so damn fast.
I'm the bard now, apparently.
Oh shit! I'm Koa. I have like a positive strength mod. That's gonna.
Enjoy it.
That's gonna go crazy.
Keegan's birthday.
Bottle of red wine.
Not just that late.
And a 25-pound dumbbell that is very dusty from lack of use.
Last time on Lost Initiative, we got to Leshev. I don't remember a damn thing that happened in Leshev, other than no, I do. Mikhail read a lot of books. The book reading was going really well. He got healthy, but while he was sick, Aldo was like, "There's a Birdman," and the whole town was like, "Birdman!" And then somebody must have contributed to some pain and suffering because Birdman went from ha 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 to Curve Rock burning books and becoming Florida Man. Burned a very important book. All three of us were very upset, and we were about to kill Scott until Scott pointed the finger at someone else. And then we still wanted to kill Scott. But we know some stuff about some books. Mikhail fully deciphered it. Aldo will get away with anything anytime he wants because his bluffing and lying is through the roof. And Koa was just there. He built a chest for Gwen and built the table. And now we're hopefully wrapping up our time in Leshev to make the trek to Hot Gwen.
Oh yeah, Leon came back. Or Leon.
We need to talk to Leon. We need to talk to Leon, and we need to talk to Hinta. And I think those are the only two things I know that we have left to do.
I think it was confirmed that you convinced the council to fix the bridge too.
Council's gonna fix the bridge.
Yeah.
The bridge that almost crumbled under the weight of like 3 horses. It's like if these guys ever have a military or anyone in a carriage go across again, they were just gonna fucking die. And that's it. Our travelers find themselves in a warm, summery day in Leshev now that 5 weeks have passed since it was already spring. All healthy, all happy, and the town had heard what happened with the Mole Encyclopedia and decided to send them 3 copies of every book. They have 3 full collections now. So, congratulations. You found 60 gold apiece under your pillows.
Ooh.
From the Rude Fairy. The Rude Fairy came and was like, I'm sorry, my bad. Been fucking y'all over for a long time. So we're rich and we have everything we want, and we gained 10 levels in Epic 6.
Nice. 6
Wow.
copies.
That's pretty amazing. Sorry, I was just trying to make sure the finger was pointed the right way. That's all. My apologies.
We have a tight session. We should get started, and that's what you've been spending your time doing, is picking Jake's nose.
What are you talking about? You said that I had to point the finger at whoever caused the problem with the bird, And I wanted to make sure the finger was pointed at the right person. That's all.
You did that instead of putting our faces where they're supposed to go.
Oh, shit. Because you guys actually showed up out of order.
God, I hate to tell you, but there was a rumor in Ohio about people eating fucking pets. And the first thing I didn't do was throw my dogs into the fireplace. I feel like maybe sane people don't immediately resort to burning things whenever they hear about something bad happening in their town.
Oh, okay.
So that finger pointing at Jake might be a little misconstrued.
I don't know. It feels a little on the nose. Oh boy,
Sorry, everyone that I rated here. I apologize. I hate you all, but not that much.
I know you have to deal with Scott, but at least we're here.
Okay, we can get into the session now. All right.
I recapped. We're good.
Yep. So, your characters were, I believe, I knew there was a conversation you were going to have with Nathan Fox, Councilman Fox. Were there any other conversations you were immediately about to go jump into? Oh, that's right. You, Leon. My apologies. The conversation you were about to have was with Leon. I confused my old guys.
I'm not talking to Fox. I was gonna finish. I was gonna pay off borrowing the purple volume and return the one that I've already deciphered.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't think that has to be RP'd.
Cool. No. You do not need to, but I will jump into something over there shortly. And let's get to speaking to Leon. So when you guys go and meet with him, because like I said, when he first got back, he was not immediately, jumping into the conversation. And when this conversation takes place, it is prior to your guys ready to leave. So it's prior to having unlocked all the books that you did. You're still in the middle of the research of it. Probably that last stint where you're like really being successful. It's prior to Wade finishing constructing his table or whatever he did. But probably after he finished constructing the hope chest with the aid of all the other workers and the use of their tools and whatnot around them. So when you go to speak to Leon, he returns not alone, but of course with Arthur Freyham, who had gone on the trek with him, as well as a couple of other representatives that had gone with them as well, that more worked as an aid than actual true ambassadors or tradesmen, if you will. And I already stated that in conversation with him, he had brought to you guys the three items, if you will, that were kind of found along that were acquired along the way or on the return, which was one, the cloak that you understood to be magical, but don't know what it is that it does yet. The boots that are very comfortable. I already told you the details around that. And finally, the kind of straps or the harness, if you will, that allows you to kind of quickly grab items and hold stuff better. As a reminder to whoever it is that chooses to wear the harness, the way that the mechanics of that work is somewhere in your character sheet. There's rules for carry capacity, and I think there's a cog there, and that's when you open that cog, that is where you apply the strength modifier bonus that you get for the sake of carrying more weight. That's somewhere on your character sheet around carry capacity for whoever it is that straps up. All right. So
does it make the most sense to carry that? Obviously, it would help all of us.
It would absolutely help all of you in a way that's like, ooh, can we all get this? But it's up to you guys what decision you make. But we don't need to make that decision now. Let's get into the RP, and you can kind of either discuss that in Discord or in game afterwards. So when you go to meet with Leon, and he finally meets you, this is probably the evening he returns is later one day. He doesn't speak with you guys that day or the next day. It's kind of midday the following, so it's about 2 days after he returns that he's willing to meet with you. As for the grounds of the meeting, you have an estate, so of course you can just invite him to your estates to meet with you there. And the reason why he was waiting to speak with you is because he had to go back and speak with the council prior to speaking with you. So he even only is just coming to your estate after having spent time with the council that morning, finishing giving his report to them as he was speaking on their behalf as well, right? So I will throw it to you guys for the terms or kind of details around him being invited there, and whether or not you would want Arthur invited as well. That's entirely up to you. So whoever here wants to jump in about that.
Where did Arthur come from? Was he Curve Rock, or was that? How did he get involved in this?
Yep, Arthur is a close friend of Nathan Fox. And so Nathan said, I'm willing to do XYZ, but I'm going to send the guy with you, with your guy. And you're like, yeah, that's amicable. That's fine. because remember, his person was negotiating on Nathan Fox's behalf about the importing of a certain type of ore for people like Hinta to make use of.
Yeah.
Cool.
I imagine we would want just a meeting with Leon first, because all the details of the trade we don't want anybody knowing. And I imagine we're not going to be like, Arthur, yeah, you heard about us gearing up against Beltran, right? Like, that's probably not the conversation we want to have.
Yeah, not without having really met him.
So I imagine
Yeah.
we'd like, it's not just like we invite him in front of the other guy and make it awkward. It's kind of like one of those things where we probably send word to Leon one night, like, to come by the estate or something.
Okay. Not a problem. So you would send an invite for him to come by probably for the evening then, as opposed to
You
during
guys
the
can
day.
feel free to disagree, but I feel like we'd invite him over to our place, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree.
Yeah, makes sense. We have furniture.
You do.
So-
And I assume it's going to be an evening where Mikhail is probably going to have to call it, probably somewhat against his will, call it early for his studies with Curve Rock to get here. And it's an evening a little that is probably going to end a little early so that Aldo can slip into his costume and stalk the night.
Maybe he's a superhero. You ever think about that?
Isn't he shoot on site now?
No, that's the future. It's the past now.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah. But actually, Jake, I think the original character Jake wanted to play was the class, the Pathfinder 1E class that allows you to be a superhero. It literally
So what,
gives
vigilante?
you
I
Vigilante.
did that.
what?
Yeah, I did that. I did that.
Oh, you did play the vigilante. Okay, I thought
Remember the
you were
Great
asking
Maurice,
for Aldo.
best character there is.
Yeah, but that was a 5e game. I thought you were asking for Aldo to be
Was
that
it?
class, and I was like, no. Yeah.
No, not out there.
Yeah. Anyways, let's
That's a
get
good
back
one,
to the game. So you guys invite him over for one evening to come to your place, where finally you have a little bit of furniture. The table's not even done yet, but there is furniture that you had purchased. Aldo has his wonderful bed, so on and so forth. So when Leon finally arrives that evening, and there's a knock on the door, it's Leon. It just has that Leon kind of ring to the knock. When the door opens up and you invite him in. First thing he says is he's removing his travel cloak and looking around the place. As he goes, "You've acquired some furnishings. It's starting to look nice in here."
Thank you, Leon. It only cost a small fortune.
He doesn't give any remark to that. You can see he pointedly looks down to see if your home, now that you start to have furnishings, is one where you actually remove your shoes or whatnot, or if you're still a traipse them around kind of crew.
I mean, I know Mikhail would be removing his shoes. I don't know if either of the other two would listen to the. Hey, you should
my
probably
house.
take your shoes off.
You're
Oh,
Brit-
what if someone pointed it out? He wouldn't think about it otherwise.
Yeah, Aldo's the same.
So when he looks down and he sees that there's only one pair of shoes sitting there and that the floors don't look the cleanest, he does not remove his shoes, and we'll walk in where I imagine you invite for him to sit down.
Yeah, we do have curtains. That's not what I'm looking for. We do have a couch and 2 armchairs now.
That means 4 people can sit comfortably.
Well, the couch says 4 people. The armchair set 2, so 6 total. But yeah, 4-ish comfortably. That's good math for what we have right now.
You know how it is. A couch can sit 4, but you don't want more than 2 there. Get away from me. Ew.
I need to rethink how I host.
4-person couch. You sit right next to your guest.
I'm like 4. This can fit 6. Bet.
Gotta leave room for the other 2 people. Oh.
There's a crack on
Okay.
you and a crack between the cushions that can fit extra in between.
So you are, so you guys go in, sit down. I imagine some type of alcohol is served, which is funny because like you guys don't have proper dishware or anything like that yet. So it's literally like your travel tins, like the tins or whatever you'd have on your mess kits. They use to serve like whatever, wine that you have, which is probably still a decent wine though, because your characters do have good taste, just not good dishware. And so it's this funny little hodgepodge situation that to somebody like Leon, he would take note of because he's a very observant person, but doesn't give a shit about because he's himself not haughty-toddy about those things. He's a military individual. He's used to life in a tent and on the campaign. So anyways, so he'll sit down and he looks about the place and says, "A small fortune."
For people who don't make money for their daily work. For
Yeah.
us.
Bedrooms are furnished too, so that's part of it.
I suppose starting with an estate this large and having nothing in here is a bit more difficult than starting with something smaller and building it up as you go.
Oh, I've had a tent for many years.
And did you decorate one of the rooms with that?
Should I have? No, I didn't think about that.
Shall we get down to business?
I think so.
How would I put a tent in a room? That's silly. A good one.
He's, I'm sure, relief for everybody except for Koa. Once he's like, let's get down to business. And he says, the travel there went well enough. The travel back had a couple of encounters, but overall, everybody is fine. Any injuries were easily mended. Everyone's well enough. There's no extra pay need to be given out to anybody for compensation or what have you. Nothing worth noting. Small run-in with bandits, plains cats. Again, nothing worth noting.
No gnolls.
Interestingly enough, there were, but in the mountain passes, not here. And again, it was a scouting group. So having noted their tracks beforehand and taking the appropriate precautions, there wasn't an encounter worth noting beyond the fact that you asked.
Good to know.
That said, we did stick to as few mountain trails as possible. We took to the northern trail to get our way all the way to Drazstone. That way, by the time we were in the mountains, pretty much the entire time we were walking through the passes, it was all in the region that's deemed under the protection of Drazstone. They take their responsibilities incredibly seriously. Should anybody had been injured or lost their life within that area, that would have been seen as a failing of Drazstone itself, no matter how many miles away from either the town proper or a guard station you would have been. Again, they take their protections seriously, something I find commendable of their people.
Pulling out his map, does Koa have the trails he's talking about marked? He would show and be like, these, or is there another one we don't know about?
He shakes his head and says, no, these trails all seem to be traveling south and into the mountains more. More comes around this way, and he draws, with his finger, he just kind of traces over, around the top, and you can see he pretty much went the entire trek by plains, stayed to the plains, and then went up into the mountains at the very end, He said, there's another path we could have gone here that would have taken us even more along the plains and into the mountains. But according to Arthur, it was better for us to seem as though we came from the mountains more than came from the plains. It's more of allows you to negotiate from a position of strength rather than one of weakness. He shrugs.
Good to know.
You wouldn't have to worry about
we're
such a thing. You're renowned in the region to have been trekking through the mountains for a considerable time.
We did.
Also good to know.
Does Leo know about our stuff with the curses? How much does he know about the curse stuff?
You guys told him a considerable amount, but I don't think
I
he
think
knows
he's
about
filled
the
in.
ghost or...
I think that's it.
I don't think he knows about the ghost or the blood or anything that's super, super high tests.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
I think he
want to
knows
share that stuff with
everything.
anyone.
Below the elder tier, I think he's filled in.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing we haven't really told anyone.
Oh, Trek was...
Except for Gwen.
Right.
Gwen knows everything.
And does
Yeah.
and I think Elliot knows too.
Might know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Elliot does know. Yeah, that's right. Those two are all the way in. Cool. Yeah, I should put that in my notes.
Go on, Wade. You were going to say something. I'm sorry, sir.
Our trek was something. We learned how terrible these places can truly be. I'm not sure that, not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but I'm not sure many could have survived what we endured. Onslaught after onslaught. I mean, it had to have been... He'll look at the other two actually dozens, if not hundreds, of things we had to slay. 30 hours straight of just fighting at points, it seemed like. Just at night, an onslaught of creatures. During the day, the ground itself would swell with vines that would come after us. It was truly terrible sight to behold, and what caused it is beyond my knowledge. Mikhail has some understanding of it all, but we basically had to flee from there because we couldn't have survived another day. The entire wilderness was out for us.
Martyr, have mercy. I'm glad that you were able to have the wherewithal, the tenacity to stay the entire night and fight back these waves. I imagine the dark eyes were gazing upon you in your battlefield that night. You must have had true dedication, arm in arm, side by side, to fight off such a hellscape. You say these are plants, living branches and brambles that were attacking you.
Correct.
I once encountered a scenario where I swear to you the creatures they did not seem to be, say, of this world, but when you talk about things like branches and brambles, how could they not be of this world, if you know what I mean? And to cut them down was not easy. They had a tenacity that you only find in warriors that have a froth to them. They have an unyielding spirit and strength. They themselves can just push beyond mortal limits. The idea that you fended these off for an entire evening, that's in and of itself a heroic deed. I think most people would not be able to comprehend.
We didn't even get a hero point for it. Sorry, that was Wade.
He shrugs and says, well, I can point to you and call you a hero. No. Sorry.
How we survived it, I don't know. Only one of us was even able to rest somewhat. It was an entire night of onslaught, of keeping fires going to keep the creatures back, of wishing we'd brought more oil, more anything, and just swinging and slashing and swinging and slashing for took a lot of supplies. It took a lot of... All of the gods must have been working to keep us alive that night.
Well, again, incredible tenacity and dedication is what likely kept your arms swinging throughout the evening. It's an impressive story. Then he will turn to Mikhail and say, assuming it's all true.
Well, we don't have to assume, but look, I can't speak to how they survived the night. I was the one who got the rest. But I did see one of the waves. If it was anything like that through those hours, then the gods were involved for sure.
Well, I'm glad, as I'm sure much of a deer will be, is an unknowing to it, that the three of you survived. Let's speak more on the deal. That's why I'm here.
Yes, of course.
I went and spoke with them to make trade of your goods. They accepted.
What's the dude's name that we originally talked to?
Roxson.
Yeah, Roxson.
Did you have any encounters with Roxson himself?
To the deal first. So they accepted the trade and they were happy for it. They are willing to take the items off of your hands in exchange for a considerable number of weapons. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Considering the reputation that Drazstone has to offer for the quality of goods that they are able to create, and the ones that I have purchased from them in the past, these fall a disappointment. They're subpar comparatively. Whereas you can certainly get weapons from them that are well forged. These are molded and sharpened and hardened from there. It's disappointed to have molded weapons, but considering I wanted to push the limits of the volume of weapons we can get our hands on, I was willing to take the risk with quality. It does mean that we're going to have to replace them in a shorter period of time, should they actually get used frequently. But considering we're hoping that these are more going to be used for training and for a short campaign, then they will do as is needed. Again, durability is the issue here, not whether or not they're able to cut.
Understood, and that makes sense. 3 or 4 great weapons would not really work for the bit of a militia we have back there. And we do not want to declare war on Hartgwyn. We could not win that, so yes, a short campaign, as you put it, would be ideal. How many are you able to arm?
It depends on what it is that they're wielding with weapons. Let's just say if we needed to spread it thin, we could arm as many as 100. But again, that's if we were spreading it thin. That's an unideal situation. Somebody shouldn't be walking with only one weapon in hand. You need to have a backup when things go poorly.
All right.
So more efficiently would be 50.
Yes.
Which there were, what, about 30 or 40 of them?
I would not say there are 30, 40 that are capable or that should be willing, that we should be willing to accept into combat. I'd say that's
more
closer to 20, but...
If they would have needed to defend themselves from onslaught, at least they would have a chance.
Yes, but there's a difference between defense and offense. Let's speak on defense then. Drazstone has a strange way of doing things. Again, there are, whether it be poured into a mold, forged over time, there are different weapons and armors you can acquire. I know you can get your hands on leathers elsewhere, but you sent me to Drazstone, so I assumed you wanted steel. Steel weapons and steel armor.
Leather weapons wouldn't have been great.
He just gives you a look like that was a low, bad joke. Allows
He'll
the
smile
moment to
anyway.
pass. And then he continues with, if you wanted to get quality armor, you're going to get breastplates, something with a decent amount of plate on you. Unfortunately, that's going to be beyond what we were going to be able to purchase with what we had. You can, of course, get chain, and then there's ring mail. There's a considerable difference in price between chain and ring mail. It's the quality of what it is that they're making, but it's also who it is that crafts it. In Drazstone, those that are found guilty of crimes and are held in bars, well, they're called ring bearers. Not only are they chains down because they're serving their sentences, but they are the ones that craft the ring mail. So while it does an adequate job in defending you, it is made by those that aren't the best craftsmen. Hopefully you find armor that is well enough put together, and I have a keen enough eye to find that, so I was able to pick the pieces I wanted. But it is going to be ring mail as opposed to chain, so it's heavier. But it will keep those that are strong enough to wear it well enough alive. I was also able to get my hands on some lighter shields, bucklers, and what have you. Wood, but reinforced by steel. But that's not the exciting part of it. Being as close as we were to Galdaria and bumping it into an old contact of mine for defending, let's call it the base of operations. Refuse to call it Jordan correct. He says, defending the base of operations. I was able to get my hands on 6, a half dozen, in decent quality heavy crossbows.
Oh,
A heavy
This will be good for
crossbow
the
will
walls.
skewer a horse and its rider if you hit it right.
Yeah. 6 of them, huh? Good quality?
They are functional. They can use a Galdarian eye on it, he says, looking over to Aldo. But they're functional. They'll do the job. They're not something I would have, soldiers running into war with, but leaving them with somebody well enough trained to defend your home, that's a good place for it, especially considering the natural terrain you have to work with in there.
yes, one of our issues going in was the number of spots that were well suited for someone shooting from a distance.
Yeah. We were at a lot of disadvantages there.
That
You're
said, let's hope we never have to defend that place from an onslaught nonetheless, because if an onslaught comes, the numbers may be overwhelming, as well as even the slightest bit of training is more than they currently have.
There's one thing that you forget, though. If an onslaught is coming, who is coming and who leads them? Versus who is defending and what do they believe in? There's always the most important soldier on the battlefield, and that's going to be the morale. Never forget that. All the work that you do, bear in mind that you're doing it for a cause that others believe in. As long as you keep that in the forefront, whether literally or at least to the public, perception, then you're going to win on morale. And a well-placed crossbow bolt can destroy another army's morale. Numbers matter, but it's not the heaviest weight on the scale.
Good to know. This is all, I think, a bit new for each of us.
Why?
Leading the few men we had to go after the slavers originally, I think, is the biggest army any of us have ever led. It was, 10 of us? And then it quickly became 7. Just 3 of them were looking to turn on us.
Yeah.
The point being is, we're leaning on you a lot here, Leon, because you have a lot of experience in this, whereas I was a mercenary. I relied on 2 or 3 other people, and well, we can all probably count the number of battles we've had together on one hand.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've run into some people whose primary study was military strategy, but weren't exactly in the same classes.
I didn't have classes of any kind. Just kind of on-the-job training, if that counts.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Well, we've seen how much it counts for. It's quite a lot.
Yes, we've managed to do some extraordinary things, and we're trying to do something else obviously extraordinary, but you speak of morale in these things, and it makes sense, but it's not something I think I would have ever thought of. I see coin being thrown at weapons and armor and training and numbers, and then I see people struggling just to get a meal, trying to hold a smile, hoping for something better, and I want to believe they can win, but how do you keep that morale high whenever the numbers are overwhelming and they don't get to live in the cushy places with the good food and wine and treatment? They're living in a cave. What do we do to keep that morale high?
Faith. You don't keep the morale high. Their faith keeps the morale high. It's your job to keep what it is that they are faithful to in the forefront of their mind. In this case, it's the faith that you are offering Hodgwen and Adir a better future than what Beltran and his ilk have in mind.
So we act as reminders of where that faith lies whenever it falters. It's heavy, but doable.
For a period of time, I imagine. How long can that faith hold on if we keep putting off what they want us to do? When will we know that we're ready or they're ready, and how do we find that balance?
There's no answer to that question. You will find it, or you won't. And even if you don't, maybe you'll find it later on, or maybe you won't.
No, there's too much resting on our shoulders to fail. We cannot.
Well, I could write a song.
Damn it. It's gonna make a. I think George Michael's already did. Gotta have faith, faith, faith. Gotta have faith, faith, faith. Baby,
we were locked in.
I want to touch your body. I know not everybody. Got a body.
Anybody
like
want
you.
to drop an insult real quick?
Sorry.
Got one in you. There's a stop, Scott.
I think that was an insult. The music.
Yeah, that was an atrocity.
Sorry, but not sorry.
No, you're not. No, I could write a song. I mean, right now, we have a few, that people know. And we have one for our group. But, I mean, they have faith in us, but we're not we're just its vehicle. Maybe we need one about the freedom of Podgwen? Or a deer? I need to work the concept a bit more.
Do you think you prescribing a song to them is going to have the same impact as perhaps one that they created themselves?
No. My job in this case would be to capture that sentiment so that it says what they're saying, but it can be sung, not just said.
I'm no composer. I know little about music, aside from some of it is pleasant and some of it is very unpleasant. Most of it is just noise to me. But what I do know is that music tends to be better for propaganda, to attract those that don't understand the cause to the cause. It's better to spread the word, get the idea out there. But for those who live in the shit, I mean, you can put rose petals on it, but it still smells like shit.
Can serve either of those purposes. I understand your point, though.
That said, Dan is a damn fine song, and perhaps I have not met a composer willing to come up with a message around a campaign as well as you can.
I mean, surely you've seen a number of soldiers that I've yet to encounter. I mean, did they not sing? There had to be some kind of popular tunes. I mean, I've only heard of a few, but I didn't actually run in those circles.
There are the marching chants and whatnot that the soldiers that have served under me done over the years. I did not partake. That was their thing. For me to be singing alongside them while riding atop my horse ahead of them, It would have come off as disingenuous.
You think so?
Yes.
I would disagree with you on that one, but maybe it's because I would have been one of the ones walking, I guess.
I've seen other commanders try to buddy up to those that that serve them, and it did not serve them well. When orders need be given, they weren't necessarily followed, much to the detriment of all that were serving and those that they served.
Must be a Paradale thing.
He does not say anything, but he clearly has a remark.
What they sing when they were bored. Not just, marching to keep a beat, but soldiers get bored.
If I heard the tune, or perhaps some of the lyrics, I'm sure the rest of them would come to mind, but I didn't eat with them. I barely marched with them. It's not the way of things.
Got it. I think I just need to spend more time there and listen. Okay. Another thing on the to-do list. But right, we were talking about I've forgotten the name of the town. What's the mountain place that we were just talking about? Drazstone. Thank you. We were talking about Drazstone. Did you see Roxson or hear of him?
Are there any more details with the deal that you were hoping to understand, or?
Oh, if you weren't finished.
A few other supplies here and there. There were things that were mentioned by Edric prior to my leaving. If I could get my hands on, they were relatively inexpensive there. Blacksmiths are a dime. Was it a copper, a cadre? So there's more than a few that you can get, even if it's lesser quality. Few supplies. They wanted to have a couple extra horseshoes around in case your horses needed tended to when you were there. Extra supplies for repairs or what have you for around the place, etc., etc. I was able to acquire those as well. It was more stuff that's being transported back than I was transporting there because of the, cost of the materials. So I also was able to purchase 2 wagons in exchange for the carts that I had. So I have 2 proper wagons that are transporting these goods, and they'll be leaving with me heading down towards Hod Gwen in the near future. I'll be heading out in several days' time. I don't intend to stay in Leshev for too long.
How far back in time is this?
A couple weeks before you guys leave.
Oh, so just okay.
You're like at the beginning of your like super successful thing.
Yeah.
I think our goal is not to be here too long as well, but we do have some business left, and I'm really hoping the counselors will fulfill the work on the bridge. Not sure if you came in that way, but the bridge is crumbling, and I don't know that 3 horses can come across it again without it falling apart.
That's concerning, considering I need to use the bridge to cross and then head south through Forvin. I suppose I could try to transport the goods via shipping, but I'm going to need a means of getting stuff off of the boats and into the base of operations one way or another.
Yes, all I know is that it wasn't very safe for us to come here, so if you're carrying heavy goods and carts, I would be quite careful taking that path.
There's an alternative. I could go the long way. We are on the outside of the river right now, as opposed to the inner Adir. We're on the outer Adir. And so if I just head straight south and stay to the western bank of the river, and so therefore the southern bank of the river, when I come round, I wouldn't have to worry about any bridges and make my way in. Unfortunately, that does put us out a bit more in the open, meaning more likely to hit plains cats, bandits, the one sighting of gnolls before, and etc. I'm willing to go that route, but that either means that I have to delay my journey until you're ready to go, assuming you take that route with me, or I'm going to need extra coin to hire guard to come along, and then part with them as when I finally make my way down to Herod, as I don't want them seeing the rest of the trek.
The other alternative is trying moving things less at a time across the bridge, but yes, even that has risks with its current condition.
Yeah, risks and delays.
If you're waiting for us, we could be, what do you think, Mikhail? Another week or two?
Yeah, hopefully maybe just another week, but we've really finally started having a bit of an upswing in the studies, so I'm going to try to capitalize on that.
And
2 weeks would be great.
Studies is the concern. The longer I wait, the more time your people back at the base of operations have not begun their regiment, have not begun their own practice. Beltran's an idiot, but he has months up on you, and numbers, and supplies, and financing.
Right.
Well, what's the gold cost to cut 2 weeks?
Be hiring a couple of guard to make the entire way down there with me. Honestly, it depends on the quality of guard and how many you want to send. If you gave me 2 gold, this caravan will be very well guarded for the short trek that I'm going. If you gave 1, it'll be well enough.
Take 2. Get them the supplies. Take the safe route.
And honestly, a third. I'll take 1 out of mine. Just in case it's needed.
He says, likely to be waiting for you when you return, but I'll take the extra just in case. Oh, whoever wants to actually give the gold off the character sheet, that's fine.
I took 2 off mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I took the 1.
Cool.
I was trying to think of how much I had at that time. I have enough.
At this point, I would have crafted the chest. Do we have a good way of moving that, or would it be easier to send that with Leon?
You can actually send it with Leon. Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that actually alleviates the stress of not just transporting it, but transporting it safely.
Leon, I crafted something. After trying to furnish this place with coin, realized how expensive that is. I've been trying to learn to work with wood myself a bit, and long story short, I crafted something for Guinevere, and was wondering if perhaps you could take it along.
Yes, they're your wagons.
I just didn't know how much space there was. I'm assuming it's probably down here. He'll indicate the chest.
Yeah. He looks at that. He says, "Did you say you crafted that?"
Yes, with some financial investment in some of the metal pieces and such, but yes.
You crafted that as the first thing that you crafted.
Well, first successful thing, I had some attempts at chairs and tables with some firewood and such, but whenever I felt like I had at least the basics down, I did, yes.
He did have some other attempts. Do you want to see some? I'll be right back. Mikhail's
The table
upstairs.
is one. I made this table.
Table's not done yet.
The table's not done yet.
Yeah.
The table, I'm working on a table. It's outside. You could look at that. It's got the beginnings of a table look to it.
He gets up, he goes across the room, and he actually gives a hard knock onto certain spots. And he checks and opens and closes the hinges work. And he stands up and he says, "Koa, if you crafted this on your own, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you've spent your entire life, and even now, pursuing the wrong goals."
I thought it turned out all right myself.
It did. If you crafted this on your own, and this is the first finished thing that you've crafted, you clearly have some gift in this. I know when I see a soldier that is meant to be a soldier versus one that is just simply a soldier. And I know when I find a commander. That's my specialty. This is not swinging a sword at a dog-faced fool and chasing around barmaids in a tavern. This is a gift.
while he's saying that, Mikhail is coming down the stairs with like one of the horrible mute chairs that he tried earlier.
Well, as well as this turned out, to be fair, Leon, you haven't exactly seen me swing a sword. That is a sight to behold.
He has. He's watched you like practice and stuff, but
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah, but he doesn't correct you. He says, hopefully I never do.
And here it is, old three legs. It's actually only got two, but he's like moving it around. Says it's more impressive. He started here and got to that. We're very proud of him.
In the past several weeks,
I don't know.
When you put your mind to something, you should give it your all. And if you're not working to improve and figuring out what you're doing wrong, I won't say that I didn't go down to the carpenter and get some tips and advice and such. It was a learning process, chopping firewood and seeing something and trying to make it into a chair is a bit different than getting the proper materials and wood and
either there's elements to the story that I'm missing, or you truly are a prodigy. When you say give tips, he just stops at that point and says, "Any other questions about the deal?"
questions, but about the deal, I think not.
And he goes over and he'll take a sit down. And
I do have one. Arthur, did he accomplish his goals as well for Mr. Fox?
He takes a deep breath, and you can see he's like steadying himself. He lets out the breath and says, "Arthur is an accomplished negotiator, and certainly was successful in achieving the goals that he sought out to achieve."
I'm not sure I'm happy to hear that.
His methods are contradictory to how I would go about doing things. He was successful. The cost in the long term, I can't even begin to predict. These aren't my specialties. I'm here doing this because I believe in the cause and because I knew I had a few contacts there. I had a few more than I do now, but success is success. And sometimes you need to take the short-term gains.
Unfortunately, in order to get the trade approved, we had to get Mr. Fox on our side, and we didn't have as much negotiating room there as I would have liked. He is a shrewd businessman, as I'm sure Arthur is. It is unfortunate. The way that a lot of these places run is unfortunate.
He's not a bad man. He's just, I'll use the word socialite, and we'll stop it there.
I think the people need good.
Well, Leshev will certainly benefit from this deal, and there are many in Drazstone that believe they will benefit from the deal as well. I can't speak too much to what it is that he traded on because I wasn't there for his tradings. I do know that after several glasses, he was a little bit looser-lipped than I would expect somebody of his caliber to be. But then again, you shouldn't go into these things with too much expectation.
A follow-up question to that then. If you had known he was going to do whatever he ended up doing, would you have still agreed to have him with you?
He thinks long and hard on that question. And then then finally he asks, would there be an alternative?
I believe we were leaving it up to your judgment, though we would have had to lean on it being necessary.
I was sent for one purpose. He was sent for an entirely different one. Who would have gone in his stead? Could they have been as successful as him? I don't know. Let's assume his skill is unparalleled to the reach of your network that you have. In that case, I still would have wanted him to go. It doesn't sit well with me, his methods, but I still would have wanted him to go for the sake of the success. However, if there was somebody even with half of his skill, perhaps that would have been the better route.
Thank you. I think that gives us a pretty good read. He'll go set old Three Legs in the corner where it can be propped up.
I wouldn't
both of its
sit,
legs.
sit on that. Make sure no one sits on that one.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, it's called Three Legs because the third leg is the wall that it leans against.
No, it's because the little crossbeam between the legs is another chair leg. Yeah.
He counted that as a leg.
Yeah, it's another chair leg.
Oh, my God.
Early attempt, guys.
No, I think it's inspiring. He'll go take a real chair.
That brings me back to a question I think that you weren't looking forward to answering then. Roxson?
I did meet Roxson. He does not make fine mail.
Oh. That's about as bad as I feared.
This trade exists because of him. That didn't help.
Roxson, as far as I understand it, some questions you don't ask, because your curiosity will lead down a path that you can't return from, or at least that I can't. Perhaps somebody like with the skill of Mikhail or of Arthur, but for me it's best to avoid. His call it deal that he made with you pertaining to the eggs, the birds. It did not sit well with those that ruled Razstone. Arthur paid Roxson paid a heavy price. He lost an eye, he lost his freedom, and his family lost whatever reputation they had. They did not extend the retribution to his family beyond their name. His significant other and his progeny are all able to live their lives to whatever degree they can, giving them new status, but he paid heavily for the decision he made.
Undeservedly so for doing the right thing.
Right thing in your eyes. And, as far as I understand it from your explanation, the right thing in my eyes. But to those that do not believe, or at least claim to not believe, or at the very least do not care, your reasoning, care about your reasoning, sorry. They see that what he did was a grave treachery against a long tradition for their people.
Yeah, of course. That does not sit well.
Could anything be done for him?
It's a sentence. He will serve his time. It's rare that in Drazstone you let off early. Perhaps if you were to do some heroic deed that garnered additional favor, you could speak on his behalf. But he has his sentence, and he will serve it out, and will eventually walk free again. But for now, he'll have a little hard time focusing on the work before him. I met him, as I said, but I asked him no questions.
I don't know what to say. Perhaps they'd only see our logic if they were overrun by wyverns.
Perhaps. Perhaps their minds can be swayed. But
He can't be given his eye back or his time.
perhaps to him is a price worth paying. If it were me,
I'm not sure if he fully grasped the decision. He listened to us and he convinced his men, despite the fact they didn't want to listen. And he did do the right thing, but he'd already lost so much at that point to give up more. He deserves better. I don't know how or when, but we will find a way to make things right with him and his family if we can.
perhaps I should inform you what it means to lose an eye in Drazstone. It means that you have split focus. They take your eye because clearly your focus, where your attention is, where it falls, what you're meant to see, has strayed its course. And rather than having a wandering eye, they remove it, help give you focus, remind you where to bring your attention.
We've never been to Drazstone. We met Roxson and learned a bit from him and the group he traveled with, and we've heard stories that you've told and such, but is it their culture that leads them this way, or is it just oppressive leadership?
This is how they've been as long as I've known them.
But do you
It's
think
their
they
way.
want to be this way, or do you think they have to be this way?
I think that's a question I wouldn't ask.
Yeah, who knows what the
Asking-
punishment for that would be?
You're an outsider. It's different than those that live there. They wouldn't remove one of your eyes. You're not expected to have the same understanding that they do. But asking that question is in and of itself intrinsically telling them that they are wrong. Just asking that question is an affront to who they are as a people, as a culture. And I do not think you'd be able to navigate your way back out of that conversation.
Well, that's why I'm not asking them. I was seeing if you had an opinion on the matter, because if we're going after Beltran for being terrible and doing terrible things and hard to go in, it's just a question of whether they have the same thing going on in Drazstone, or if it's just, again, the way that they want things to be. It's different if that's the way they want things to be versus if they're being forced to be that way.
If I had to guess, based off of what you tell me of Roxson, the man that I saw, and knowing their culture and those that were raised in it, he likely put up no fight against this punishment. He likely accepted it, knowing that it was the correct punishment for what he did.
That might be true, but he had more to lose. His family and the punishment extending beyond himself. I think that might change the way he would accept things too, wouldn't it?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm not saying we declare war on Drazstone. I'm just saying if we're going to try to make a difference, then we shouldn't just target people that hurt us directly in one day, right? Maybe one day we can help more than just hard Gwyn. Maybe we can do something for Drazstone one day too.
I'm not here to judge their culture. As a general rule, they are a proud and well-established people. As a general rule, they are kind and courteous to those that are in their lands. They have their own way of doing things. As to the origin of those ways, if it was someone in charge or the people that created the person in charge that upholds these ways, I don't ask those questions.
Right. regardless of who we are. I mean, we're going to be outsiders. We can't just go in there telling them, "Hey, you can't punish people this way anymore."
No,
I mean, we can, but
not
who
as
would
we are
listen?
right now, but if this curse business gets taken care of and we find a way to remove Beltrin and restore Hardgwen, perhaps make sure that Orsugo is no longer a
I'm
threat.
going to cut you off, Koa. It's one thing to fight against a literal slave owner. It's another thing to have a problem with another culture's way of doing things and wanting to wage war against that. This is a conversation I'm not even going to entertain right now. I'm willing to answer questions. I'm happy to work with you with what your current cause is. But let's not even start looking at the menu of another restaurant when you haven't even finished your appetizer. Right?
You are correct. I can't help but think about what happened to Roxson and how
And the
wrong
way
it
you
is.
think I probably align with. But it is neither our place nor now is the time. Focus was the point of his punishment. Perhaps we should take that to mind.
There's nothing we could do now anyway, I suppose.
Not right now, no. Okay, well, it's probably for the best we didn't go.
Drystone is not a place to be visited by the faint of heart, at least if you intend to return. Their punishments, again, may be severe for the citizens that live there, for the people that grow up there. For outsiders, you're outsiders. You're understood to be, let's just put this in simple terms, ignorant, uncultured, uncivilized, and so on and so forth. So there's lots of passes that are given to a certain degree. That doesn't mean they're not willing to give you a proper wallop and a turn inside of their cells before banishing you from their lands. But as a rule of thumb, if you go there and you're not overtly offensive, you will have the comforts of a truly safe place. The mountains are not a safe place, as you know, but they have their guard stations. They watch well after it. Their soldiers that, parole the outside and their guards that parole the inside take their duties very seriously. You will not find a pickpocket that is going to reach into your purse because that pickpocket does not want to lose their thumbs.
Yeah. I guess I'm not so, I'm not too concerned that we'd misstep so drastically. It's just, I'm not focused.
Well then.
It's one thing for it to happen because it's their culture, but it still happened to a man that we respect, that we like. But, I mean, gods, he helped us when he didn't need to.
Here's a final thing I want you to chew on before we change the subject. When he made that decision, don't you think he already knew the consequences in advance?
That doesn't make the
I think he
consequences
did.
just.
I'm not arguing that. But back to the deal. It worked out very well. I would say that I would even go so far as to wager we walked away from this deal better than I anticipated us going in and gathering. The sheer volume of supplies we were able to get outside of weapons and armor, and the amount of weapons and armor, despite their quality, is again all greater than I anticipated getting upon leaving. The kicker being having two proper wagons in good enough shape, not new, but in good enough shape. That was a benefit that I didn't. Molly!
Babe.
A benefit that I didn't molly.
I got her killed earlier, and she hates me for it.
I mean, I killed Brittany.
Sounds like you're in
Our anniversary is in 2 days, and the first thing she said to me tonight was, "I'll kill you." That's how you know we've been married a while.
Nice. Anniversary, how many years?
In Minecraft was definitely added a few moments later. That was not part of the original sentence.
Is this your 6-year anniversary?
7.
7.
7.
I was gonna say, did you guys get married just before or just after you started LI? Because it was like that year.
It was that same year. I think the wedding was before we started playing.
Because I know you and I were talking. I don't know. Or
Mike originally reached out to me
in
I think
2019,
before
right?
the wedding, 2018.
2018, yeah. Because like
Reached out to me
we were
2018.
talking like December or something. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So he and I were talking, and then we were introduced. I think we started playing after the wedding, because after the wedding we still had to go to Amsterdam for the tour, and then New Zealand and Australia for that tour. So it was a very busy time period. I think I was like, yeah, it's probably best that I start after the tours end. I think, which would have been December of 2018.
Mike used to like to try to start campaigns, Star Wars campaigns in December because it's like Star Wars month or something, and so he always likes to try to like ride the marketing hype. So like if there's a like he'll do a Mass Effect thing during November, because then you get N7, and like he kind of like goes that approach. Whereas I'm bad at that. I don't care about that stuff. So that kind of like it makes sense that we would have started a game around a December. But either way, congrats on 6 years.
7.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Congrats on 7 years.
It sounds so sincere when you get it wrong right after I've told you.
I'm sorry. We were talking about when you started everything after that. Congrats on 7. Well, you've successfully done 6 years, so I am correct there. Congrats on almost. Listen, motherfucker, I've been with my wife almost 13 years. Married together before that, so just catch up.
Season 1 started before September of 2018, so we were playing before December of that year.
Of 2018, gotcha. And you got married 2018, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so it was after the wedding. Yeah, you're right. I remember seeing pictures and stuff like that, but I didn't remember all the details. But cool. Where were we? Game.
You got a good deal.
He's got a good deal and had the wagons to boot after everything was said and done. And then he said, and then of course the extra detail, the extra items I was able to get my hands on for you. Well, the truth is, I was able to get my hands on the boots and the straps, the harness. The cloak was acquired by Arthur.
He like raises an eyebrow with the way he said it.
Did he tell you what its capabilities are?
He wasn't sober when he got it, so I don't think he knows.
Oh, interesting. Well,
I
it's
am just
certainly
happy.
enchanted.
I'm just happy that I believe the person he traded to get it from also believes it was traded. Because at first it was questionable. But the next morning things seemed to be legitimate enough that I wasn't looking to return it.
I see.
Well, with that, I'm gonna follow Arthur's lead here. And I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna start drinking because Leon is. No wonder Arthur got drunk. That's all I'm saying. Leon for company. Whew.
Well, I intend to leave in the next few days' time. I will be spending those next few days acquiring a decent guard with the coin that you've offered to get done. And then as soon as I get back down there, I'll be beginning the regiment. I'll be beginning the training and so on. I imagine when you arrive, depending on how long it is between now and then, we'll be well into our training. If things aren't going well, we'll see where things are at the time.
At least they'll begin progress. Koa, there's 2 potions that I couldn't identify. You think he'd be okay if I sent those along to see if maybe Gwen can identify them?
I'm sure that'd be fine.
Yeah, I'll send those 2 that I failed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to wait a whole level.
One's Fire Belly
Hopefully.
and the other one you don't know.
Correct.
Cool.
So we don't know either one.
Yeah, in-game,
Yeah.
correct. Awesome. So, Jesus, Joe. So you yeah. So he's gonna part ways unless there's anything else you want to say to him.
Thank you for doing this, Leon. Obviously, you've put yourself in a less than comfortable position. You've lost some context, as you've said. You dealt with some unpleasantness, and all of it for a cause where, well, obviously your leadership is much more trained and tempered than ours, but we appreciate your friendship and everything that you've done and continue to do for this cause. I hope we end up making it worth it.
Koa, I'm a retired old man. It was either this or gardening, and I know Lady Arabelle would not welcome me into her home if I spent my later years simply gardening.
If I can get a wooden thumb, perhaps you could have grown a green one.
Stands up and says, I'll see you outside of Hogwen. And goes to leave.
I'm gonna yell out the door after him. Oh yeah, be on the lookout for a Birdman. There's been one getting about.
Birdman. Seems to think for a few moments and shakes his head and walks away.
Yeah, Mikhail's just nodding.
Birdman, you still on about that?
It's real.
Cool. You guys, any RP you want to have with each other before we move on to the next bit?
I don't think so.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you go and speak with what's his name to like return the books and pay for the other things, so on and so forth. What's his name is there. So first you go to the man of the house for the Fox estate. When I say the Fox estate, please understand the Fox estate isn't just one building, right?
Mhm.
So you have his manor that you've visited multiple times, but the Fox family has a vineyard that is outside of Leshev. It's actually several miles outside of Leshev. It has multiple buildings to it as well. It's a pretty large, sprawling estate where they grow a considerable number of grapes there. They have a whole vineyard where they grow grapes there. They a press that's out there, so on and so forth. That's where his proper estate is. He doesn't live there though. He lives in Leshev proper. He doesn't oversee the rest of his place. So when you go to his manor, let's use that term, in Leshev, of course the servant of the house, or the man of the house as we tend to call him, welcomes you in, brings you to the place where you can return, so on and so forth, handles the transaction or whatever that's there. And it's all very amicable. He doesn't make much small talk with you. If you speak to him, he's very kind and has the words back with you. He's never rude, right? But you have nothing to talk about.
I thought he was actually kind of rude. Guy.
He's standoffish.
Yeah.
Abrasive then?
What was it?
Abrasive?
Yeah, I'll take abrasive. Yeah, abrasive.
Yeah.
But he's not going to go out of his way to be rude to you. He's just you are not the typical people he'll engage with. But so anyways, he is he's there. So unless you intentionally are engaging with him, which I imagine you do for one or two small questions, but beyond that, that's up to you, Keegan. But for the most part, he just stands there while you complete your business, and then he'll go to leave you. But while you're there standing there, actually the door will pop open, and you'll see Fox will pop in, and he'll say, there you, and looks over to see you, because he clearly was going to say something to the servant, and then he looks over and sees you. He goes, "Oh, Mikhail, I didn't realize that you were here."
Yes, I was just actually returning one of these books you let me borrow, because I'm done with this one, but not the other. I figured I'd square up the ledger for the loan in the first place, because I'm going to be busy for the next several days and then leaving town. I didn't want to forget.
You can see as you're explaining that to him, he looks disinterested, but is absolutely letting you say what you need to, because he's not going to be rude, of course. But he definitely has that look like, when your friend's telling you a story and you just don't care, but you're going to let them tell the story. Like the look most of you give me. So he is going to let you finish saying, and he goes, "Wonderful." He's not even necessarily, you're not even necessarily sure he knows what he said wonderful to, but he says, "Wonderful."
Just let it pass.
By chance, is Aldo here?
In town, yes. With me, no.
It's too bad. Do you like wine?
Of course.
There's a few bottles I meant to send his way. I've been meaning to do so for a while. I wanted his opinion on them, but I hadn't come across his path, and supposedly he's in town for weeks, and he hasn't come by my estate at all. One would think that's a bit rude.
I don't know what he gets up to, but I can tell him you're looking. If there's wine involved, he'll be here.
Well, you're going to be the courier, and so there will be a cost. And the cost is you get to drink it.
I accept.
He says, finish up whatever it is that you're doing here and meet me downstairs. And then he looks to the to his servant and says, the third one, by the way, I forgot to tell you earlier. In reference to... Never mind. Understand, sir. And he'll turn and walk out.
Okay. I will go downstairs.
Okay. You finish his business, and you can see that he has a half crate there. So it's like a wooden box that has like the slots in it or whatever it is, and a bit of hay to pack the bottles in so they don't shatter. And there's six of bottles inside there. And he says, I haven't seen Aldo in some time. I needed his opinion on which of these was his favorite vintage, but he's going to have to decide between 5 because which would you like to crack? And he kind of like opens them up, and he gives you an opportunity to go over and look at the labels and see what you're interested in. Now, these aren't labeled like marketing. These are labeled like just a basic which vints they are from his estate, and like a basic description of like a couple like flavor notes. This isn't like a full-blown modern day labeling that you're going to see for. This is just like a family in like a in family kind of like notation that they have for one another before they make decisions. And so he lets you look them over, and so your character takes a moment and you decide on whichever one you like the best. He says, wonderful. It's still early. I think that goes well enough for the time of day. And we'll go over and pop the wine. And we'll sit down and make small talk with you. As opposed to, what's his name? Leon. Fox is a, now that he's actually engaged with you and not like, he doesn't care about your business deals. Like the fact that you're borrowing books means nothing to him. But now that you're down here and actually engaging with him in conversation, which more or less is like storytelling, switching rumors, like things like that, like things that you actually are talking to him about. He's a very engaged listener. He actually listens to most of what you have to say and asks the appropriate questions here and there. So without having to get into the nitty-gritty of it, Keegan, is there anything specific that you would either want to talk to him about, important or otherwise, or anything you'd try to avoid in general?
Yeah, Mikhail wouldn't get too much into the details of like what was in the ruins and that kind of stuff. Like he might talk about, because we haven't really talked to Nathan about any of what was in the ruins, right?
Of course.
But he knows that we were out there and that Curve Rock was funding stuff. So he'd probably focus more on talking about the recent interactions with Curve Rock.
Oh, okay. He's sipping tea. He is absolutely enjoying it. And like now that by the time you meet with him, this is like you and Curve Rock are like well into this is near the tail end when you're about to leave. Okay. You're like well into. He's like. And like, as you're saying almost positive things about it, he's like a child at the edge of the seat. Like the gentleman's pretty reserved. He's put together very well, so on and so forth. But it's just one of those, like, you've brought out what in him? You know what I mean? Like, he's genuinely shocked. And you can see, because while he's not a gentleman that wears his, details on the sleeve, you were keen enough to easily pick up the notes suggesting, how do I use this to my benefit? You are now a key to a lock that I usually have to hit with a hammer. And you can see the gears turning of how he uses this to his benefit. And so, and you're no fool. You notice that, right? Yeah. And so, but either way, you enjoy this conversation. And so as you're kind of like going about this conversation and he's, and you're going over the details and just kind of like the tidbit where we're going to drop in to RP. And he says, And all of this based off of him funding your expedition to go and see ruins.
That is where it started. Well, yeah, that is really where it started. I mean, the ruins, you know, how he is with anything related to Mull. So he wanted whatever we could find.
Speaking of ruins, didn't you also spend a considerable amount of time at the ruins in Hod Gwen? They're not directly central in Hod Gwen. They're a bit off to the side, to the north. I understand. I've seen them. But didn't you spend some time in those ruins?
Yeah, we've looked around them. Did you find out something about them?
Well, there's something that's always striking me as strange about those ruins. You see, it makes sense when you look at those as they exist deep in these woods. I mean, they have a reputation, the woods, the curses and whatnot that exist there. It makes sense that would be an uninhabitable place. And I understand that you went searching in the mountains to the west to find ruins that were also uninhabited, which, again, makes sense. They're deep in the mountains, infested by gnolls and all sorts of other, let's just say, dangers. But isn't it strange to you that the ruins in effectively the heart of the largest bustling town in all of Adir remains uninhabitable? Isn't it strange? It's almost charming how the Greyris family has always allowed that to continue. It's almost like they need that part of the town to remain lawless.
That is an interesting perspective. So, that could be for a number of reasons. Are you just speculating, or is this based on something else?
Well, you've already said beforehand that Beltran was known to work with one of the organizations, or at least to some lesser degree, as they did a little bit of ferreting for him. But what if there are still rumors that Beltran has encountered a few others that have spent considerable time themselves there? Besides, if the Greyris family truly cared about the building up and the well-being of Hod Gwen, don't you think that their newly appointed head of the guard, their newly appointed leader of their military, wouldn't want to make a name for themselves clearing out the home of such vagrants and criminality, as opposed to allowing business as usual?
Turn him into something of a firefighter. Interesting. It would be, I don't know if I want to say smart, clever. It's not all that complicated. But it would be effective. Everyone seems to know about that place. No one does anything.
Nobody has for many, many years. I mean, from what I understand, there's been hand-waving attempts. The effort that you put in just because enough complaints have come in, but no genuine effort to clear it out. Imagine if you're captain of the guard, or as we call it here in Lishev, constable, somebody as honorable and upstanding as our incredible constable Tyreek is. How do you think Tyreek would allow for something like that to persist in the heart of Lishev?
No shot, not at all.
Anyways, I thought you might find that a little, he says, I'm sorry, I just wanted your perspective on this, as you've spent time there.
Well, I mean, now that you've drawn attention to it, I mean, the guard presence, not even just in the ruins themselves, but on that whole side of Hod Gwen, is lessened. You really don't see them outside of the more wealthy parts of town.
Strange.
Beltran, it's pretty expected.
Well, I heard that there was a fire that happened not too long ago over by the tanner's place down in Hardgwen. Rumor is they blamed it on some of the squatters, the vandals, that came out of the ruins to go and take care of it. But I heard it was something else. I heard it was a bit of a warning from those that live into the ruins. A bit of a warning to the council.
A fire at the tanner's place?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm trying to put that one together.
I don't know that happened while we were there. That had to have been after.
It had to
right?
be afterwards.
Had to be after.
But we do know when we were in the one ruins, they were gearing up to do something. There was something going on inside the ruins that they had, like, that room they didn't want us going near, and they were gearing up for something, it seemed like. The bandits.
Yeah.
We never found out what, did we?
No. The I'll ask. I don't think we ever got the name of the tanner that we dropped the slithering pit off with, but I'll ask if that's the tanner he's talking about.
Thanks for a moment. That name does ring a bell. I believe that is. The whole place didn't burn down, but there was a considerable amount of damage that was done there.
Interesting. So done as a warning. Interesting. They don't really do a whole lot from what nothing that overt especially. So maybe trying to drum up attention so that it's a little more high profile when that's dealt with.
If I had to speculate,
Interesting.
as you stated, in Hardgwen, there is a considerable amount more disparity now than there was before in the distribution of the guards. Certain mercantile or other upstanding areas of the town are well more looked after than the others. Now, tanners are themselves a bit more affluent. They have significantly more money to, they would be in that region that would generally be seen as protected. However, tanners have a foulness to them that don't allow them to hang as close to that inner circle as maybe they would otherwise appreciate. That's
Right.
a target that you can get into and out of delivering a message without necessarily having to make too much of a risk. Question is, why are they delivering a message?
It's strategic, obviously.
Agreed.
I imagine it's to get the attention not of just the council, but of the public.
One way or another, it does imply that whoever this group is, guild we'll call them, does hold a degree of leverage over the council there. Or at least some of them. Who, I can't say.
Ah. If only someone could find out what that was.
If only. But I unfortunately do not have that kind of insight. I don't. Speaking of the Greyresses, I know you know a good deal about Beltran. What do you know of his parents?
Honestly, very little, other than that they basically own everything.
Well, that's a bit of an overstatement, but yes, they are quite wealthy. They are quite wealthy. Well, I can say this is Traxian, who is seen as the head of the council. There, he's the well. There is some rumor that he was not actually born a Greyres. There's some rumor that he is, shall we say, bought his way into that title. That he is not actually of proper Greyres blood. Now, generally speaking, that shouldn't matter. We're not talking about a king's court where there is nobility passed on from one generation to the next through bloodline. We're talking about council. And we know how councils are run by duly elected officials, put in their position because they've earned the trust of the people, right?
At least here.
At least here. In Hongwen, however, it works a little bit differently. You see, there is council that is elected by the people of Hongwen, but that's only true for one councillor. The rest of them are actually elected into power by the rest of the council. Now, how one councillor may be elected, it's usually some degree of backdoor deals that are done from one to the other, and it's not uncommon for you to pass it from parents to child generationally. You, of course, greasing those votes before choosing to step down, because the position of counselor in Hongwen is indefinite. You will stay until you die, or you step down. You revoke the position, and it's not uncommon to do so to open the door for your child. People aren't going to cross you while you're still alive, especially if you've paid them well enough not to do so, and you have whatever degree of influence over the others as you are making this decision. Well, the idea is that Traxian perhaps was not of proper Greyerist blood and bought their position or their name. Now, I don't know if this means that they were some bastard child or some half-cousin or just some friend of the family that has known from youth. But one way or another, they greased their way into that. He greased his way into that name. Or so rumors say. If you care about such things.
Clearly gears turning. No, of course not.
I don't.
Okay, so that's Traxian. And then the other.
His mother?
Yes.
What is that? Alifi? She is, shall we say, fierce nobility. She is a proper woman through and through. She is domineering, rigid etiquette, sharp of wit and tongue, and very dedicated to her family. She loves her son very much. I have little more to say about Alifi than that. She is doesn't exactly leave breadcrumbs lying about. I think that speaks more to her character than anything I could have scooped up along the way.
Fair enough. Now I'm thinking.
Yeah. I'm out of game giving you a moment, but of course he has more he can say in game.
Okay. Yep. Continue.
He says, but then there's the Greyerist nobody speaks of. Beltran's older sister.
Chonga.
Beltran's older sister. Did you know that she was meant to marry into the Merrick family? That was until she refused. Loudly. At a ball. And that is why very few speak of Beltran's older sister.
What was her name?
Funny you ask. I'm not sure. I've heard a good number of nicknames, but perhaps you can get it from a more faithful source.
We know who the fuck the Merrick family is? Is that a name that's supposed to mean something to us?
To you, probably not yet, but likely it means something in Hongwen.
Yeah, I was about to ask. Say, Merrick family. Also counselors?
Nods. But never mind the Merricks. Did you know that Counselor Yenta and Counselor Varro haven't spoken face to face in 2 years? 2 years. They have not spoken to each other while sitting on the council with one another. I mean, you can't blame them that. Can't blame Varro too much, not since that incident at the warehouse left his son missing a hand. But such things happen, accidents and all that. How's the wine, by the way?
Feels like when you go into a bar at a game and like you just keep talking to the bartender and he just keeps giving you. You're like, eventually I'll get through all the new lines. And he's just like,
all these rumors.
yeah, this is just like bartender rumor. It's like, man, I should have talked to him after the last quest because now I've got to get a whole nother set of rumors. Damn.
He told you to look into these things, like out of game, like many sessions ago. He said, I'll look into what I can for you.
Really, he did. Damn.
Yep. That was before you left, not the recent time to go to your recent adventure, but the last time you left Lishev, he said that. He said it to Aldo specifically, as he gave Aldo a bottle of wine or two.
I feel like I should have
Thank God
sent a
Keegan's got all
porter
these great
after
notes
Aldo.
about this because I've not written down a damn thing.
You got VODs for a reason.
Yeah, I've been typing.
Forensic?
And then,
Sorry, Mike.
Well, as he's talking about the Hot Gwen stuff, I don't know if this is Kiken forgetting or Mikhail, but we do know he's talking about different counselors. We do know about that one counselor which he hasn't mentioned. I don't know if Mikhail would bring it up or not. What's her name? Yahanka Matarai.
And what about her? Do you know?
Oh, I thought that was like the guard
Well.
lady or something.
We know she likes finery. Her grate is broken, and she doesn't know it's broken. And the same guards watch her house. That's what we know.
I don't know if we can share that. What do we... Is she the one whose house we go into
Is
the
that-
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Ah, okay.
He said nothing about her. And then he says, as you guys are coming to the bottom of the
Okay.
bottle, he goes, well, anyways, you understand the way that these counselors work. They'll find themselves to be nobility because of the nepotism they're able to use to constantly keep their own families in power. And if not the nepotism, then and if they're not able to grease the appropriate wheels, then the next individual will come in to make such decisions. But in the end, they're all united by greed. Give them something else that they want, and they'll likely just tear each other apart.
hot meat kettle?
Agreed. Okay. Well, that is certainly more about Hodgwen than I knew before.
That's unfortunate considering how much time you've spent there. Perhaps you need to stop spending your time inside the lowly taverns, playing your fiddle, and a bit more time in the upper class places, playing the clientele.
Perhaps I should. I had good reason to lay low before, to be fair.
Those reasons very well may still exist. But if you're going to make a statement, you have to have the research.
And the stage.
Well, and we'll just say that you're preparing for your debut. Mikhail, I hope you enjoyed that bottle of wine, but the rest of them are for Aldo. I need his refined palate to give me his opinion. So you'll have to let him hear your opinion and to take that into account before he sends word back my way.
Of course. Do you know anything else about the older sister, Gravis? Sorry, that one perplexed me. I wouldn't imagine a member of that family could be not remarked on in such a profound way.
No, I understand. We all have these embarrassing growths. I have a cousin, nasty hairy mule on his ass. It's been that way since he was, very young. And
Mole or
Mule?
mole.
Oh,
I was like, whoa, wait
I
a
have a
minute.
cousin
That
that has
word
to hear
means
a
something
mule on
else
his
I don't
ass.
know.
it's like, well, that's a hell of a story. I'd cover it up too.
Yeah. So you use a fucking
the
tablecloth?
mule-shaped mole.
Mules aren't as big as horses after all.
Oh, it's awesome.
How does that man get that tablecloth to float behind him like that?
Anyways, and he stands up and says, "It's a pleasure speaking with you, Mikhail. I won't lie. It's a tad more delightful hearing the stories coming from you than Aldo. With you, there's a degree of intentional flowering. There's cohesion to the story. It's told in such a way that's intended to be entertaining, and I am thoroughly entertained. With Aldo, you're not entirely sure where the truth ends and the fiction begins, if there was ever truth to begin with."
Yeah, you're not wrong. He gets up. Says, though he is quite the storyteller when you just listen.
And that goes good and well to an audience that is a little less keen.
Yep. That ignorance is definitely bliss.
Speaking of stories, have you heard about this Birdman?
Yes, I've seen him.
I'm not familiar with the story of a Birdman. I know it's arrived recently, and then there's rumor that supposedly you're supposed to see him before you die. But I've heard many accounts of people that have seen the Birdman, and yet no suspicious deaths.
I think it's when you're close to death, and I think that's the difference. They may be close to something that represents death, or someone who might die soon. Yet no one's died, so that still pokes a hole in it. I'm not sure about that
people
part of
have
the
died
rumor.
across town, but nobody in such a suspicious way that is added to the room. That is added to the story. It's just
Right.
strange.
It is, but I've seen it. I had pneumonia when we first got back, and I thought that I was hallucinating it. That's why I didn't bring it up. But then Curve Rock mentioned it, and I don't know what's going on, but I hope it's not dangerous.
Well, perhaps it's worth investigating. Perhaps it's not. We'll see.
Yeah, just I suppose let us know if you hear anything about it, other than it's here.
I don't know. Hopefully, I get the opportunity to meet with them. But if I don't meet them, I guess that means I'm not close to death.
True. Oh, you mentioned, I think the last time we visited, there's some kind of meeting or something that's going to happen in some months that you wanted Aldo and I to attend.
Raises an eyebrow.
I am also trying to remember the details. Said something about meeting his niece
Oh,
and other people.
yes. That's still potential.
I was just checking so that I can make sure to have it in my mind when planning things, travel and all of that.
No. Makes sense. She has been otherwise occupied a considerable amount herself anyways, so perhaps we'll have the roads cross at some point in the future. For now, she is otherwise occupied.
No, I assumed it'd be a larger gathering than that, but I suppose you can't. Have those kind of meetings when people aren't ready.
So many moving pieces.
A few. Right. Well, yes. This was a pleasure. Thank you. The wine was incredible.
Aldo's opinion, please.
Of course.
make sure that the crate is, with you before you leave.
Yay, carrying crate.
You can head out the door from there.
I love Aldo to death, but he would drink dishwater if it had a drop of alcohol in it at one point in his life. So the fact that he's depended on for fine wine is hilarious to me and always will be.
Hold on. The fact that he's willing to drink dishwater doesn't mean he's not still a sommelier of sorts.
He's giving us tasting notes of like
Cascade.
Swirls it, smells it, spits it out like
the way it
too much
cascades
Dawn.
down your palate. Ugh.
Give him the NyQuil next.
Well, I know what
don't
profession I'm
it says.
putting skill points in next.
Sommelier? Profession sommelier. Honestly, that's pretty cool.
That's kind of cool, honestly, yeah.
an epic
But yeah,
stick that will suit you so well.
You just
Right?
remove it from swim and put in sommelier instead.
Exactly. We're going
You
swimming.
might die in the
next
mud
session.
whenever we go to mess with the water, but you know what? You'll know how well that water tastes as you drown in it.
That's right.
Earthy. There's, earthy tones to this.
Could have used another
Listen.
week.
Listen, I mean, you could know how to swim, but I'll just remind you, I didn't roll a single swim check while I was drowning in that mud. That didn't happen one time.
Wasn't it in Frasier where Niles was at one of those hoity wine tastings and Roz showed up with like shitty cheap wine and had somebody like blindfold test it and said all these great notes, and she like put it on the table and it was like just trash wine, and she's like, I knew you were full of bullshit. Like
That could have happened, dude.
I maybe
I
saw
watched Frasier.
Yeah, a few times, like 30 years ago, whenever it was on.
oh, I loved I rarely rewatch things. A few movies and like no TV series. I've
of us were
probably
kids
watched
back
all
then.
of Frasier 3 or 4 times. What?
Some of us were kids back then.
I didn't watch Frasier while it was on TV. I watched it through twice, well after it was on TV.
I don't know if I saw it while I was. What year was it on TV? Like I feel like I watched it while it was on TV. Frasier.
I think it was 2000 Stop Scott.
I would have been 7 or 8 when it first came on, so I definitely would have watched it more in my teenage years. I wouldn't have watched it at 7, 8 years old. So
No.
but anyways,
We know all of you are worried very much about this.
I'm sure, of course.
I was thinking to myself, what are the group going to do next? And when did Scott watch Frasier?
I mean, we were talking about sommeliers. So
Now we know. But yeah, he'll run home, drop off the crate, and try to find Aldo if he's not home.
Yeah, he's
Aldo's birding out. No, you find Aldo at home, I'm sure. Whatever, not a big deal. That's with Jake.
Because I'm offloading all of that tea I just got. Like, I don't know if you want me to go back down it or if you heard it, but
Literally is putting a kettle on the over the fire, and it's like, gentlemen, have I got news for you?
yeah. Them bandits have some leverage on Mr. Beltran. We already know people in that bandit group too.
We do. Aldo is going to go buy some new pants for Mikhail.
Oh, it's not going to work twice.
Listen, Von Berg, he's known for his pants.
So,
He may have given up that pair, but he missed them so much he's got them again.
somebody literally dropped a Kalis kindness for those pants to be as epic as they were. If
I
somebody
know.
dropped the Kalis kindness again, that would have been, or the opposite. They do the malfeasance just to make the pants not work.
Mikhail walks
they'll-
around in the wrong pair of pants. Curve Rock burns more books.
Exactly.
Right, but you said
Really starts
somebody
burning
burned
his
down the
books.
tannery?
Well, it didn't burn it down, but they did set a fire at it.
Isn't that who's
Um,
making your armor?
No,
they
not
have
the armor.
They have the hole.
the slithering pit. Yeah.
Ah, right, okay. Well, I've said it before, but you know who this sounds like?
It's not the piss mafia. It's you. He's
You can only
staring
die
at
for so
Aldo.
long when the evidence starts piling up.
Pooling up.
Nice.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Uh,
Is
Uh,
Koa here for this, or am I? Are you just you two? I think it's just you.
I think he
two.
said
no,
it was at
I was.
home.
I would assume Koa would be home, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we just assume he
Oh,
talks
yeah.
to you while you're all together.
probably making
Yeah.
your table.
Fair.
Yeah, no, I think what he was implying is it was definitely that group of bandits from the ruins. Sure, maybe they're piss mafia, but that's probably irrelevant to this. We knew they were gearing up for something. We never found out what. And now they start lighting fires, trying to send a message to not mess with them. And no retaliation?
But really, to start moving on any of this information, we have to kind of commit to it because there's a lot we could do with what you've said. Seems like the counselors are on edge a little bit at each other's throats. So it wouldn't take much pushing to, really upset the apple cart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be done. I think we need to be careful and intentional with whatever we decide to do with it.
I don't want to see innocent people getting hurt. If they start just going out and slaughtering madly, that would be terrible for everyone involved. But if we could
That's
perhaps
one quick way to rebel, yeah.
would be, but Leon's only just recently left to start the training. I can't imagine that they're going to be ready that quickly. So if we go there and we start poking the fire, we better be ready that we're prepared to back it up, and that perhaps Aldo getting closer to that group. You've already been able to get in there a couple of times, and if we can understand what their goals are, maybe they're decent people just in a rough spot. Maybe they're not decent, but it'd be good to know what we're working with or working against.
Well, they're probably not decent people, if we're being honest.
We thought that about Casper.
Yeah.
Casper wasn't, if we're,
Well,
until faced with
yeah.
literal death. I mean, if we're gonna decapitate a couple of the bandits
Sure,
in the ruins in front of them, maybe some of them, change their tune.
Yeah,
Being
he had to
indecent
turn
because
over
you're
a new
forced
leaf for a
to.
reason.
Being indecent because you're forced to is different than being indecent because you enjoy it.
Do you want to behead a few of them? It's a joke, Koa. Stop thinking about it.
It was a good swing in an unfortunate circumstance.
I think it was pretty necessary at the time.
Couldn't happen to a nicer person, right?
He had a mark. I don't regret it.
There we go.
What was his name again?
Gargolith.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, his parents probably really didn't like him.
Unlike what you said about Beltran and his mother.
Well, his Beltran's mother seems to adore him. It's the older sister that I think, well, she's a member of the family, an outcast of some kind. Assuming she's still around somewhere, she's got to have a lot of information on them.
Okay, so we try to get close to the sister and we try to get close to the bandit group and learn more. Meanwhile,
But
we need
it's
to make
not
sure
time
that...
for that.
Not yet.
Because we're
but
not in a position to,
No, I'm just saying if we're going to spend any time in Hot Gwen, those are goals to have. We need to get to another keep.
Yeah. And Rid. We need to head to Rid to see if that stash is there. Yeah.
There is a keep
Yes, we
near
do.
Rid.
Wraith
Isn't that
Blade, I
Dwayne's
believe.
one?
That was the
Yeah.
one that Dwayne was at with the goblins.
Exactly.
I don't know about you, but goblins sound a bit better than those tree things again. But not that they should be taken lightly. I don't know too much about them. I've not fought many. Any, really. I've just heard the stories and seen a couple.
Yeah, I know a little about them. I mean, I guess we could ask Dwayne a bit more now that we're not, at the ruins. Now that he's at safety, maybe he can relay a bit more to us before we head out there.
Or the unwillingness to go on this adventure and to proceed the way he was. When push came to shove, he really did hold his own and We wouldn't have made it without his help. I'm
Yeah.
glad that he thinks he's better than he was at fighting.
True. Yeah. No, we were pretty lucky he was around. A couple of those spots would have been tough to get through without him. I figure we open the place up to him when we leave. I think I'd be okay with him staying here if he needed it.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Really? I think he's pretty trustworthy after what we've been through. It'd be kind of nice to have someone here rather than not. The kind of place Leshev
I just
is.
spent 25 gold on a bed. I'm just
Put a lock on your door.
For somebody who has nothing but time, that lock's not gonna last. I'm not saying he would, but you know,
The rest of us have.
I haven't.
Koa will wink at you, like assuming that's obviously a lie.
Well, I guess
I
it's
don't
up.
have a strong opinion. I don't have too much I'm leaving behind, but I feel like a parent. I was like, I hope he doesn't come and throw any parties here or something.
Yeah, that wouldn't be nice. Broken furniture and such.
Now that I know what goes into making furniture, no, I barely want us to sit on it and use it as it is.
Well, that's just my opinion. If you don't like the idea, I'm not going to fight against you. But I do wonder what he's planning to do after this. I mean, I don't even know how much he got paid.
If he wants to travel east, he could always accompany us that direction.
Yeah. I'm not planning to ask him to go to Wraithblade with us. I think that would be in very poor taste.
Not after what he experienced there. No.
well, maybe we should have a conversation with him and, like all things, start, moving on. Odd Gwen, hey? It'll be fun to be back there.
Yes.
It won't
I
be.
suppose it would.
Maybe for you, Koa.
Back in the inns. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great for Koa.
Mm.
I said it with enthusiasm, but if Beltran finds out about Guinevere and I can't imagine anything going well for her there. But she won't give up and move. She feels she's too invaluable to the hospital, and she is. That's an awful position.
Yeah. Look, that's why we don't make any moves yet, other than just we find out what we can, and otherwise we pass through like we did before.
If the bandits do indeed have something on the counselors or have a point of position there, if we do ally with them, perhaps they can help keep an eye on her shop. It is close by.
That who you want keeping an eye on her shop?
Who else do I have to turn to in Hot Gwyn?
I don't know who you have to turn to, but I don't know.
There's a lot of ifs. If they end up being decent folk who are just in a hard spot trying to do the right thing. If they're just awful people being awful and they just happen to be the enemy of our enemy, then not. But we don't know yet.
Yeah. I don't know. She's obviously done something to take care of herself while she's down there. But it's worth asking around and checking in on the idea.
Well, I guess let's finish what we have to do and get moving to Hot Gwyn then.
Sounds like a plan.
Talk to
So I guess we
Dwayne.
talk to Dwayne real quick.
Yep. It's literally, he's usually around outside, so on and so forth. And we'll say this time that he's outside because Koa had borrowed so many tools from like carpenters recently when he was like getting out of their place or borrowing a couple of things or whatever it is. He's outside using the tools that Koa had borrowed to do some fletching, to like make, fresh arrow shafts or whatever for his bow and, some like basic stuff like that. So you come outside to see that's what he's working on.
Oi, Dwayne, got a second?
Yeah, I'm just finishing up some work here. Hey, Aldo, I didn't have any heads for you. I know they're a bit more broad for bolts, but I did fashion you a few extra shafts, feathered them and everything, so I got a dozen for you over there.
Oh, thanks, Dwayne. You know, that's going to really help. I'm actually setting a trap in my room. So if anybody opens the door when I'm not there, a crossbow will go off and shoot them.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, I don't know. People, you got to be careful about security these days, Dwayne.
No. Aldo. Listen, I know you've been struggling a little bit lately. But you've spent so much time at the ruins and all the traps and everything that you've experienced, and I'm sorry about what happened on the way back, and I know it's having an impact on you. But, spending all the time in the ruins aren't supposed to inspire you that way. You know?
Maybe you're right, Dwayne. I just can't get it out of my head. It's just something I've got to commit to.
I mean, if you're leaving something valuable inside of your room rather than trapping it and maybe coming back to a dead body, rotting for God knows how many weeks or months before you return, maybe just ask somebody else to watch your stuff for you. I'm sure if you put it into the vaults of one of your very affluent friends, the door and the window?
Yeah.
Which window? All of them?
Yep. We just took a delivery of heavy crossbows, so I'd hate to be that person that got in that room.
Heavy crossbow? Oh.
Yeah.
He just looks to the two of you like, is he okay?
Well, that's not exactly what we came to speak about, though. Glad that discussion happened, I guess.
Yeah,
we're going
just
to be
in case a rider comes gallivanting towards his room on a horse to attack his bed.
Yeah. Honestly, these bolt shafts are a little too short for a heavy crossbow. Yeah, I know the one that you usually use is much smaller. It's more compact. These weren't cut as long as you would need for a heavy crossbow. So
Don't worry about the heavy crossbow. I've already got that taken care of. But thanks for these ones for this. And he pulls out his styling gun.
Yeah, glad I could help.
We actually came to talk about
yes,
traveling plans. We weren't sure what your next move was. We're going to be heading to Hot Gwen here pretty soon.
I know. I've been lazy. My past two excursions, you're right. This is probably the call to action that I needed. I spent the better part of a month. No, at this point, it's been over a month of just lounging about, and summer is now here, and I have not. Well, around the corner, I should say, and I am not out there doing the work I need to get done. You make a good point, Mikhail. And I'm sorry for having freeloaded after I.
This is not about that. This is
Yeah.
about us traveling and wanting to know if you want to accompany us east. If you were traveling, we could group up together again and go to Thorvin or Otgwen or wherever. We're just going to let you know you were welcome to travel with us. This isn't about you staying here. You served us mightily on that trek, and you've been through hell and back twice, and we know what those keeps hold. Unlike anyone else in this town, we know and understand, and we appreciate that. So we were inviting you to join us if you wanted to leave the Chev.
Oh. No, that sounds great. This is a paid position?
If you want to pay us,
No,
you can,
this is-
but no, you don't have to.
Okay. He goes, I wasn't sure if you were hiring me, he says, kind of. But no. No, I appreciate it. When are you thinking about leaving?
What day is this?
Yeah, how many days till I'm done studying? at this point?
That's up to you guys for when you're talking to him. You would have spoken to
You said it's already
what's his
almost
name?
summer, so this would be toward the end, I imagine.
Yeah, this is like the last
Yeah.
couple. Like you're literally working on your last book with what's his name when this is happening. So
So say
what's that?
maybe a couple more days.
Usually time to go and see if I can hound the counselor for some work that's in that direction. Then, so I can at least have company while I head out that way. Sure.
Okay.
You're
We're
gonna
going to be
hound
hitting
Cobra?
Hot Win up and then traveling to Rid. I don't think you'll want to follow us past that.
Oh.
But if you're comfortable discussing on the trek, we'd love to hear any insights you have.
Yeah. I suppose I can. Sure. Yeah.
Great.
Figured it might be easier now that we're not, in the thick of another keep.
Sure enough. Yeah. Let me finish up what I'm doing here, and then get off my lazy ass and see if I can find myself a work that's in that direction. And if it's even partially going that way, I can at least start the journey with you. If not, maybe I'll travel with you anyways and see if I can find work in one of the other towns.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome to accompany.
Thanks.
I keep forgetting, but I meant to talk to Hinta a while ago.
Sure.
That's the last conversation I need to have, and we
Oh,
can be
yeah.
done.
Yeah.
This was supposed to happen like when we first got back.
That's fine.
Mhm.
I mean, but it's okay. It happened weeks later, right?
I mean, you'll be happy, I guess. I'll be less happy.
Okay.
Because I wanted to go there about two things. One was to show the results of the barding and how it protected and how maybe it failed and how we could maybe do better for next time.
Mhm.
Two, I wanted to look at trading in the cutlass for possibly a different weapon,
Oh, potentially having her craft you one.
which is why I was like, yeah, maybe this would be nice.
Okay,
to
then
go.
let's rewind time. I'm not going to screw you over with this one. Let's because we've already this whole session so far, this whole bonus session has been jumping back.
I had it in
from
my
where we
notes
were.
from even
So
last
that's fine.
time, and I just kept forgetting to bring it up, or else other things were coming up.
If it was just conversational, I would have had fun with you showing up late. But if it's you're trying to craft something, I'm not going to screw you over. That's fine. So let's say that this wasn't when you first got back. Let's say this is probably like a solid week and a half after you've gotten back. Mind you, you've been back for like 6 weeks or so. Okay. So let's say this is like a week and a half after you returns. You finally, go to see her. The reason why you wouldn't have gone earlier is because you were literally chopping wood to keep Mikhail alive after your first day or so of
Yeah,
relaxing.
we need to recover and do that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so and then finally once that's done, I imagine a day or two pass by, and then finally you're like, oh shit, I have this thing, and then so again it's like day 8 or so, 9 or so, and so you go there to see her.
Good morning.
Um,
Go in.
she looks at you and says, "Oh, decided to swing by."
Yes, after recovering and making sure Mikhail wasn't going to end up in the grave, finally had a moment.
I'm sure you're doing an excellent job of swabbing his forehead.
Mostly chopping firewood and into that, but
She crosses her arms and says, "I don't care about firewood, Mikhail. I don't care about firewood, Koa. How did it do?"
he'll gesture outside where he's brought like the horses back, like at least one or two of them for her to see the results.
Mhm.
They all survived. I would say it did relatively well.
I don't care about the horses.
Oh, well. If I'm being realistic, 50, 100 horrible tree abominations lay dead, and its blade never faltered once. It was an onslaught like I've never experienced before, and it did its job.
All right, Koa. You could have just told me that it was sharp. Making up stories to elaborate how sharp it is isn't going to
I'm not one to
you.
exaggerate.
She looks at you, unamused and unbelievingly.
I'm not one to exaggerate this time.
You're telling me that there were 100 what?
Well, they looked He'll describe the little ones, describe the big ones, describe the vines. He will go into detail until she stops him, and she'll talk about like the scurrying, the burying, the dropping out of trees.
She actually listens to the whole story.
How they chased them on the way out, how they stood up all night fighting, having to keep fires tended. He will describe it.
That's fascinating. Wow. That's... You can see she's like really thinking. She's like, that's... Okay. Well, thank you for telling me that. And I'm glad that you survived. Mikhail? I heard he was unwell. And Aldo I did see around town, but I don't think he noticed me because he didn't exactly wave.
There's something to do with other planes and water. We were in some area of super wetness, and Mikhail went to investigate its center to test a theory, and long story short, he ended up being sucked into the muddy quicksand abyss to some extent, and nearly drowned, suffocated, what have you, and ended up very ill afterward. It's all a bit above my understanding, to be honest.
You lost me with that story. I don't even know what you're trying to describe. He got wet and sick. I understand that.
Yes.
Okay. You made it sound like there was some sort of magic or something, but I guess that would be a Mikhail
There
thing.
is.
There
but-
was?
From my understanding, there is where we are, and then there's similar places, but one of fire and one of water and one of light, and somehow they're intersecting at points, and Mikhail was at an intersection point, and that's why it was more wet than normal wet. It was magical wetness of some kind. I don't know.
Koa, you're spinning stories that I can't even begin to comprehend. You're saying there's other places, fire, water, lights. Next thing you're going to tell me there's 5 avatars that each have a special ring they put together to summon some creature from these places to oversee the world or whatever. I don't...
Some of these creatures are trapped into stones that are used to have perpetual fire.
And there goes...
Please ask Mikhail. He can explain. I'm doing my best, but I sound like a madman, but trust me, it's true. I've had to slay one.
This is mole related.
Yes, I think so.
She thinks for a moment, like a few moments. She says, I have a cousin, well, 3rd cousin, I think, who used to study these things. Maybe I should introduce you to him. He's a strange one.
We've met with and dealt with all types. Mikhail's about to go try to spend time with Curve Rock.
He was banished from our home. And so he had to go and live with other family as far west as Jovance. And since has traveled about. I might be able to get word to him. He might have interest in what it is that you're describing. But to me, it just sounds like insanity. You know what? Have Mikhail draft a summary of what it is that he experienced, and maybe he'll give a response.
Sure, I'll pass that along. I'm sure he can. But the sword, again, amazing, and the barding held up pretty well. I brought the horses by, so that way, perhaps if we do need to go back, you can see what worked or what didn't, if anything. What I asked you to prepare us for was something that, again, didn't make sense, but now you can see the results. I have one more favor to ask, though.
She raises an eyebrow, asking favors.
Well, maybe not for a favor so much as work. Paid, trade, combination of the above.
Shrugs. Go on.
We'll, like, draw out the cutlass and, like, put it down.
Mm-hmm.
This belonged to a very terrible person before I got it. And, I witnessed atrocities performed with this blade. It's just a weapon, and I've had to use it, but it weighs on my conscience having seen what it did. I can't get the visions out of my mind. But I'm also thinking perhaps that having just 2 swords maybe isn't the best practically. Perhaps some other kind of weapon. I enjoy this weapon whenever I can use it, but sometimes a bit more of a defensive stance is needed, so I pull out my shield, and I can't really use this with a shield, which is why I keep this spare blade by my side. Anyway, just thinking perhaps something along the lines of, what's the term, Morning Star?
Yeah. She says, Koa, I'm not one to speak faith with just anyone. But let me ask a simple question. Tavius or Snaga, do you hold either of these gods close to your heart?
Oh, Snaga, yes.
You do. In that case, I'm willing to take the sword off your hands.
It's a fine blade, but its history is cruel.
No, I understand. And I understand where you're coming from. I disagree in the idea of trading this in. This is a very well-crafted weapon. It's among one of the better ones that I would have crafted for you, though this wasn't crafted exclusively for you. It's still well made. I personally wouldn't want to give up something like this with your line of work, but with your sentimentality, I understand.
Oh,
Steel, it's forged with more than just a hammer and fire. It's forged with passion. It's forged with memory. And that forging doesn't end when the last hammer strikes. It continues to be honed by every time it is wielded, every time it is swung. You continue to forge more history into this weapon. Now, you can accept the fact that this blade has done horrible things that you did and did not witness, and you can walk away from those memories. Leave them, push them to the back of your mind, or forget them entirely. Or you can use the same blade, give it new purpose, bring justice to the craftsmanship. I'm not going to judge which decision you make. I appreciate the sentimentality and the decision either way. I'll take it off your hands, and we'll gladly trade something else for it.
Well, I haven't asked the others if they'd want the blade, but I don't know if they know how to wield it properly.
Please, in the name of all of the gods, those that know about forging, and those that don't, do not put this in either of their hands. I have seen Mikhail fumble his way around a blade. The one that I made for him, he can barely use, and that's the most skill he has. And Aldo, Koa, Aldo.
I know you're correct. I'm just trying to be kind. But yes, they don't stand a chance of wielding this properly. They'd probably cut their own hand off.
So am I taking it?
I think that's likely for the best, yes.
Fine. And you wanted a whacking stick? There is no grace to a morning star.
No, there's not, which is why I prefer to use this at all times. But I feel like having different approaches to fighting might help. Some of these creatures, when they attacked, my sword was barely able to do anything. They swarmed, like, all around. It seemed like whenever Aldo was shooting, though his shots were true, the arrows would go right through parts of their body. And I don't know what we're going to encounter. We've seen so many different things, unexplainable things, things I'd never even heard in stories. And I thought about perhaps an axe, but I can keep an axe. We have axes, cut roots and things of that nature, but something that can bludgeon its way in is something I don't really have. There are things that, even this sword, I didn't want to damage it swinging at a door at one point, or a tree trunk. So I'm just trying to think of having more things in my toolkit, so that way, should the need present itself, I'm prepared. Because I don't know that I can slash my way through everything.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but when the gods made us, they gave us all the tools that we would need.
Right.
She holds up her hand, looks at you expectantly.
I'll hold up his hand as well. I mean, he'll hold up his hand.
Then she makes a fist. Do you not know how to use this?
Against a tree.
I mean, if I'm going against a tree, I'd rather use an axe. But
And we'll
sure.
We'll keep one by our sides from now on. Believe you me, but something may need to get smashed in. And I don't know. I'm just trying to think ahead. Like I said, this blade is by all means first and foremost. And I've loved to use my fists throughout the years. I miss having some of the bar fights of the past, the brawls. They're exciting. Just nothing but flesh, pummeling flesh until someone's down and out. It's a fun thing to do, and it's agreed upon by both parties, I suppose. But what we encounter in some of these old mole ruins, I never know what we're about to see.
she says, that's fine. If that's what you want, I can get it for you. Let's go inside. She walks in with you. She says, how much do you know about the Karak?
I don't know that I know anything about them, do I?
They're a culture very far to the east of here, and rumor is they eat people.
That's what he will share.
She shrugs and says, yeah, that's pretty much it. Know anything else?
That you know of them.
She'll actually, you get like almost a quarter smile from her because it actually caught her off guard with how stupid it was. But it was intentionally stupid, right? And she says, they're known for, they have their own way of fighting, some graceful, some less so. Anyways, they have this one weapon called a kanabo. Are you familiar with it?
Am I aware of that?
It more or less just means heavy stick, or close enough translation. And she'll actually go over to the wall and she'll pick up like a long metal rod that has like leather straps at one end to help like absorb the reverberation. And then on the other end, the metal rod has, so it's not just like a straight metal pole, like a metal dowel. It actually has like knobs built into it. Not necessarily nodules that stick out, but almost like imagine if you were like small, like flying saucers, like part way up near the end. So it's like studded, if you will, with some of these little metal bits. So if you hold this side and you smash with that side, it is a big, heavy thwack stick that would hurt a whole bunch, which is, lots of ouch.
Two-handed, I imagine.
It's two-handed. It more or less the statistics of a great club, which is a two-handed 1d10 weapon normally for a great club. But this is also, we're going to use the stats of an Earthbreaker instead, because I'm doing a Kanabo, which is...
I think, isn't there a Tetsubo?
I don't know if there is a Tetsubo in
Yeah.
Pathfinder.
I think they have a Tetsubo, but it would in real life be called a Kanabo. The Tetsubos, I think, are actually supposed to be the smaller ones, but in Pathfinder, it's...
Is there like a separate cultural weapon group that I'm not looking at, maybe?
It might be
Eastern weapons.
It's probably
So
in Eastern weapons. Yeah, it's probably in that.
Let me look. There's Tonfa, Naginata.
I'll just tell you
means
out of
it's
game. I don't
probably
really know the
exotic.
best weapons in Pathfinder, but I saw Morningstar can be piercing and blunt, and I was like, that covers the other bases.
You can
Yeah.
argue against it. Tetsubo's it's an exotic weapon.
I still would need a
Yeah.
one-hander anyway, even if I take another two-hander. It's like I still need something to go with the shield.
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong. So anyways, so Tetsubo, you are not, that is an exotic weapon. And just so you know, Wade, Tetsubo is a two-hander. It's also 1d10, but it's a ×4 crit.
I don't know that I've landed a crit once in 200, 300 hours, but sounds great if it were to ever happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it a crit just 20, or does it have a bigger range?
Just a 20. Just when something goes above ×2, it's only at a 20. This other one, it is an Earthbreaker, is what it's called. It's a ×3, so it's also only at a 20. But the damage is 2d6, so it's comparable to your greatsword, but bludgeoning damage instead of slashing. Feel free to argue. You do not have to accept what she's offering you here. So she says, this is one of their weapons. You can take it or leave it. And funny that you pointed out, Mikhail, because technically speaking, what she's offering is, for those of you that are like longtime Aurorum followers, technically what she's offering is not actually a weapon that belongs to the Karak. She's actually offering a weapon that belongs to the mountain region over there, and the Goliath set, or but that's a different conversation. She doesn't know. That's not her culture. She's from west of here, and she's talking about really like countries to the east. So she's kind of talking based off of the knowledge that she has, which is a degree of misinformation. But back to you, Wade.
Brave of you to bring up Goliath around Wade.
He never played a Goliath.
I know.
He played a half giant.
Mm-hmm.
He was everything he wanted to be and more.
But back to you, Wade. So she offers this to you, and she says, this would certainly splinter wood.
This reminds me of a much better version, it is, of a good time I had with the club back a few months back. I actually really loved using that thing. I'm not opposed to trying this out. This looks like a fun time. But I do still need something I can wield in one hand with the shield, which is why I mentioned the Morningstar.
You have your spears.
I have javelins that are more for
Oh,
throwing.
that's right, the javelins. I forgot. I haven't seen them in a few months. Yeah. That's what you want? I'll get you one. And she'll walk over to the shelf, and she'll come back with a Morningstar and place it on the table.
Is it masterworked or just a normal Morningstar?
It's a Morningstar.
This is certainly what you said it was. The craftsmanship on this seems not made by you.
Do you have a problem with it?
Problem, not so much. I just have gotten spoiled with things that have had your touch.
I don't waste my time on such crude weapons. But this was crafted in this shop, so the quality of steel is, well, at least it started off good. Whether or not that's changed, you'll have to take that up with my apprentice.
Do you think your apprentice could fashion a superior version to this?
Sure.
Great. It's a good start.
I'll make a deal with you. You give me the sword that you have there, and in trade for the materials required to do this, because it is going to take him several tries. And I'll be happy to take that in trade for the materials. But you're still going to have to pay a little bit for the amount of time you're taking him from the duties that I need him to do, to the duties that you want him to do. I'm willing to settle with 5 silver.
That's fair.
Sword, 5 silver, and it'll be done when it's done. And please understand, I know what you're asking me. It'll be quality, or it'll be done again. And again.
I have no doubts about that. And if I were to fancy this other weapon as well...
That's not easy to get your hands on. That came all the way from... She thinks for a moment. I think it's called Shinto.
I'd be offering coin for that one.
Oh. Well, that is not an inexpensive weapon, she says, smiling at you.
All right, fleece me, Daddy. Lance, there were apprentices here the last time.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
were
there's
outside,
multiple.
and they were certainly people that worked here.
Yep.
There you go. According to 2E, making sure I'm not crazy, it looks like it's 4 gold.
I'm guessing it's also not a masterwork weapon.
Correct. It's the fact that it's an uncommon weapon way out here.
Is that one worth it? I don't know much about Earthbreakers.
So,
It-
off the bat, just think great sword, but ×3 crit and at 20 instead of ×2, and it's blunt and instead of slashing. The other thing that Earthbreakers can do is there's actually a feats tree you can go down where an Earthbreaker becomes a one-handed weapon, and you do 2-weapon fighting with the Earthbreaker and a specialized type of shield. And it's actually a fighting style that exists in the region where Earthbreakers are typically found. Because when she said Shinto, it's actually not the name of the clan that she was referencing. It's actually called Shado. But again, there's many, separations between the fact and what she knows. So there is a culture out there that does fight like that. So there is opportunity, but takes considerable training. We'll say that.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
for
2d6
Wade doesn't
damage.
know Pathfinder terms. You guys think that's worth it?
I think having a 2d6 bludgeoning weapon is not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a nice weapon in general, and yeah, I think it's worth it.
Full gold it is.
She'll take the gold. You can leave the gold on the counter or whatever. And she says, if it makes you feel any better, I'm selling this to you with effectively no profit.
That does make me feel better. Thank you. But also, if you talk highly of something, I just trust your opinion.
Good. Are you going back into the woods?
Not just yet. We're going to eventually be facing... I don't know where we're going next. We're going to be going to Hod Gwyn. There's a few different places around there we might be looking into. One of them has goblins. The other two we don't really know. So, it depends where we end up. We're going to take a little bit of time here to unwind, heal up, rest up, and figure out our next move.
If you go back into the woods and you encounter these creatures again, your explanation of them makes them seem like they're just mindless tree beasts. I'd be curious if you could return to me with a few bundles of the vines and the sticks. It's not abnormal to use ash for certain parts of how it is that you're going to treat metals. And I wonder if the ash that you would get from burning these would change those properties.
I don't know how much I have, but I do have some I could bring by.
I mean, I would like a considerable amount of the ash, so I'm not sure what you have either, but
I don't know how
if
much
you
we would
can't
have
fill at
left.
least an urn, it's probably nothing that I can do much with.
I imagine
We
we
had
would have
quite a
some
bit.
amount because we were keeping it honest in case we had to burn more while we were being chased.
Ash? Oh, you mean wood.
No. Yeah, and we
creatures
collected a
and
bunch because we were wondering if like the ashes could.
I remember you collected some at the end, specifically Mikhail did, but there wasn't too much that was taken.
I don't know about how much ash we'd have, but like some of the creatures' bodies and stuff we kept as extra burning material.
Yeah, but I mean, would you not have burned that on your trek home and stuff?
Well, we fought some at the end that we wouldn't have burned yet.
But you also, so I mean, the question is whether or not your characters would have kept that on you the entire way home, and then the time that you were here.
I don't know. I mean, I don't see Koa disposing of it unless we had to, but
I could totally see, like, if you're saying, yeah, we would have held on to it. It makes sense if you held on to a couple of branches, like nothing crazy.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm not saying we have a whole
big
lot. I'm
bushels,
just saying whatever bodies we had from the last fight, whatever we could have collected relatively quickly at least. I feel like we kept as much burnable stuff on us just in case we needed to at that point.
Yeah.
But then
And we also
traveled
we also
2
thought
days,
the
camped for 2 days, and traveled for a bunch more. Go ahead, Keegan.
So we also thought the ash could be used on the one of the trees.
Which is why you
and we
collected
knew
some
we
at
were
the
going
end.
to need a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we did burn them, then we have the ashes. But if
Yeah.
not, then we have some bodies.
So I will assume that you have some ash, and I will assume that you have some sticks. Nothing. She's interested in taking both if you're willing to offer both. If you're only willing to offer some, or
I'll give what Koa has. I won't offer what Mikhail had.
Okay. That's
So
fine.
I imagine a few bodies is what Koa has. I don't think he has any of just the ash specifically. I think Mikhail did the ash. Koa was more interested in having bodies to burn.
Yeah. And bodies, of course, are these little things. But yeah, so you give those, and she has interest in it, and she'll look into if there's any interest. She herself is no arborist or knows a ton about wood, but she knows well enough to make the haft of an axe or whatever, right? Like she knows that kind of basic shit.
Yeah.
But anyways, so she could probably fletch some pretty shitty arrows, like some.
I doubt we have
stuff.
any vine left. We burned all of that.
But
Yeah.
either way, so you let her know you'll drop her over the next couple of days. She accepts that. Cool. If you're ordering a master weapon blade, that takes a while to make.
I've done it once before.
Yes, I did math wrong. It should have taken you many more weeks to accomplish that. I gave you. It should have been the amount of progress should have been 1/10 what you did. So it would probably would have taken you
370 days.
probably, assuming you passed every check with the same exact result. It should have taken 7 weeks or so. I remember, but doesn't matter.
Wait, it was 36 or 37 days. I mean, it's still 5 or 6 weeks.
For you to make the chest I'm talking about?
No, the weapon, the sword that she made was.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about. I thought you said I've done that before. I thought you meant like
No, not me crafting.
Oh,
the sword
I
that she
misunderstood
crafted was
you.
like 37 days, which is why it's like if I'm here and we're here for 5 or 6 weeks, it might be closed.
Yeah. Well, except it's her apprentice doing it, so he's gonna struggle way more.
Yeah.
So like next time you come to Le Chef, it might be ready for you.
I'm getting used to ordering something, coming back half dead, and then it's like, here's that thing that would have helped you.
Yeah. Hey, at least you have the Earthbreaker now.
Yeah, thank God I got rid of the cutlass, and now
Just
I've got
no,
no one-handed weapon for whatever we do next.
Earthbreakers, by the way, they're not light. They weigh
14
pounds.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so
They
now that I
heavy.
paid for it, now I get the deets.
Well, I told you all it's the only detail I didn't tell you. It's 14
I really hope
pounds,
someone comes back to town with some kind of crazy thing I can strap to myself that helps reduce weight or give me more carry capacity. That'd be really nice.
though. You have that.
Not yet.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But that's actually not bad. Like if you had the Earthbreaker as item 1 and the Greatsword as item 2, or even Earthbreaker in a different weapon, but you want things that you don't typically draw as part of moving. That way, it's a free action to draw even when you're standing still. You know what I mean?
Yeah, originally I wasn't thinking about having another two-handed weapon. It was kind of like the Morning Star and Shield would be like the things I'm like, okay, I drop the Great Sword and I grab those. I don't know that I can carry both the Great Sword and I'm not Mortifer. I don't know. carrying two-handed weapons and a shield.
So-
That's a lot.
A long time ago, Nick used to. This is a point to this. A long time ago, Nick used to play this character. He wasn't a paladin because he was not lawful good, and that was back before I allowed non-lawful paladins. That was we're talking. We were probably 14 or so. Nick played a character. Mazrim was his name, and he collected magic swords. He wanted one sword for each elemental type, and so on his horse he had a saddle. Sorry, he wasn't a paladin. He was a fighter and a cleric. Anyway, fighter, cleric, multi-class. Anyway, so he had on his saddle, on each corner of his saddle, he had a different like built-in sheath. And so he had like a fire sword and a cold sword and an electric sword and a what was the other element? An acid sword. And then he had the one that he kept on his person was one of the ones that allowed you to change the element with each attack if you wanted to. And it was just like, anyways, it was this funny thing. The point I'm getting to is you could have a sheath built on, or like a loop or whatever it is on your horse's saddle so that you don't have to carry it. Your horse does. And then you just have to, like, if you're going into a situation like, I should probably bring this weapon, that's when you strap it to yourself, You can bring shit with you without it being on your person. So
That's what I was planning on doing with the, like, one two-handed weapon and then the whatever and shield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then just hope I chose right.
But either way, cool. So you leave the shop and go your own way.
Thanks, Fleetwood.
You can go your. Okay. So, is there anything else on the Chev, or have we finally buttoned it off?
I think that's it. Oh yeah, I guess it was just to write something. What was I supposed to write for Hinta?
Your whatever you're willing to share with her third cousin, she thinks. The details.
Oh, about my near-death experience. Yeah.
Well, not even that. It was about some. I told her about some of the plane stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And she's like, "I got a weird cousin."
I don't even know if Mikhail's willing to share any of that knowledge, and if so, how much he's willing to. You feel free to RP that between the two of you guys if you'd like. You don't have to.
Mikhail.
Koa.
I was talking to Hinta. She's gonna work on a weapon. I got this. Hold the club.
How are you holding that with one hand? That looks heavy.
I'm not going to swing it that way.
Can I see it?
Yes. I'll gingerly toss it. I mean, it's only 14 pounds, but it is 14 pounds.
Yeah, just like outstretched arms. Oh, yeah, that would have been real helpful. Sometime. You're just gonna carry this around?
I'm going to put it on Nightstorm and come across something that I think it'll be useful against. I figure we should always keep an axe on us. I'm just going to try to vary up my tactics a bit to make sure I'm prepared for different scenarios that we come into. I have a sword. Oh, I traded in the cutlass.
Oh, you did? He handed you back the Earthbreaker.
I'm having a Morning Star crafted.
Huh. That was a pretty nice cutlass.
Yes, but its history.
Right. Yeah.
Neither one of you seemed to be able to use it, and I didn't really want to continue with it. I've got my sword. If I need to slash something, I've got my sword, but I figured having an axe to break into things and having something that could smash things could be useful, so I thought I'd try to vary things up so we're prepared for more scenarios moving forward. After the incident with the vines and the roots and the doors, it's kind of like I realized just having something that can swing isn't always the answer. Oh, swing and cut.
Oh, makes sense. And yeah, I guess we don't have that cutlass and the blood it shed hanging around. Sounds like a good trade.
Hopefully so. I spent a bit of coin to get this as well as the Morning Star that's being crafted, but I was explaining to Hinta some of the things she asked about how you were and such. And I explained that
She did?
Yes.
Surprising.
And I mentioned the planes of water and such that were causing us some grief in the way only I can explain things, where they make no sense and confuse people more afterward. But she said she has a weird cousin who...
Don't we all?
Yes. Basically, she wanted you to write a letter and explain whatever you're willing to explain about these events at the keep. And she was going to pass it his way, and perhaps he'd be willing to meet with us. He might have some insights or some knowledge. I don't think she told me what his focus was or why he'd be a useful resource, but she seemed to think he could be.
That's what I was going to ask. I don't necessarily know if I want to put all this information down for someone's weird cousin. I mean, I trust Hinta's judgment, but with just that explanation?
Did she ever tell me why he would be useful? Well, you can ask her yourself if you'd like. I'm sure she'd like to see how your progress with sword swinging is going. But, about the extent of my knowledge on the subject is she thought he might have some insights if you're willing to say something that would pique his interest.
Right. Maybe I should ask her.
Likely better than taking my word for it, yes.
I mean, we don't want that just getting out to any random weirdo, right?
Heavens no, think about if a random weirdo knew that there was planes of water, they could do something about it.
Well, it almost killed me. What if they can harness that? Imagine if that went off down the road.
I think you're worried about more than a random weirdo. I think a random weirdo isn't going to hear about a plane of water and be like, you know what I should do is go nearly drown myself to put it into a crystal that I found in a mole ruin somewhere.
What I mean is random weirdos can talk, and that word can get around to the people that can do some real harm with this kind of thing. I almost did some real harm with this kind of thing. And yeah, I was being a bit reckless, but I actually know this stuff.
Well, then perhaps you should have that conversation and see if it's something you want to risk writing about. I'm just passing it along. I'm sure I left you with as much information as I left her with.
There. Okay. I'll go check in, I guess, at some point. I don't know when this would be. Are we back in time again?
This is like the first week.
This is like
you just
week
got
1.
Healthy. Like you got over pneumonia like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. Sheesh.
You probably still think you're the only person who saw the Birdman. This is that early.
Sad reality. Then yeah, I guess Mikhail goes and talks to Hinta.
Mm-hmm. She sees you walking up and she says, "So how stupid are you?"
Did Koa say something? What?
I know you fought twigs, and I know what you keep at your side. So, how many times did you try to stab a twig before you realized it wouldn't work?
To be fair, Aldo shot twigs, and it worked.
I'm not asking Aldo how stupid he is. I already know.
Like, I wasn't sitting there counting, but I eventually switched to the short sword. Okay, I wasn't sure it still had an edge to it, and I might have whipped the sheath out into the woods at one point and had to go look around for it for 15 minutes or so.
Forgot about that.
But I did find it.
Some details you probably shouldn't share with others.
Yep.
If you or anyone else, I'd probably just scream at you and remove you from my shop. But I like your jawline. Give me that sword.
But I hand her the sword.
She looks it over and then brings and does whatever small fine-tuning she needs to do, if there's any degree of sharpening or whatever it is, while she says, "But this isn't why you came here."
No. Koa told me you had a weird cousin that I'm supposed to write a letter to.
Yep.
Why would I write a letter to your weird cousin?
Stops doing what she's doing, looks at you and says, did Koa not tell you?
He said that they might be interested in what we found in the ruins.
There you go. Goes back to what she's doing.
And that's it. What do they do? Are they a scholar of some kind? Have they visited these ruins before? Why would I write them?
Neither of those things. At least that I know of.
Okay. What about the last thing? Why would I write them with this information?
They might find it interesting. They might know something.
It's potentially dangerous, so I'm a little worried about who I might be sending that to.
She thinks for a moment. I can appreciate caution. And she'll like turn and you can tell that she's leveling with you. And she says, my cousin was born a little weird. He's so pale. People thought it was a hobbit. But it turns out he's what's that word for it? Humans call it albino, but there's a different word for it when you're referencing hobgoblins. Anyways, his skin's so pale that he would burn in the sun. And usually if that's the case, then you just go to the mines or some other sort of indoor work. But a combination between my aunt being influential enough and him being frail enough that that's more or less a death sentence, they kind of were able to shirk his responsibilities here and there, and he spent most of his time reading books. The thing is, where I grew up, the books that you have to read aren't the books that you read where you came from. There's not children fairy tales or, I don't know, the tradings between Ascaria and, I don't know, somebody else. It's books about mole history.
Oh.
But it's
I
written
see.
in the original source material.
That actually does make some sense. They were very knowledgeable when it came to planar energies. Yeah, I suppose his study would have technically been more focused than mine.
I don't want to say study. He spent a lot of time in the libraries. He read some of the books, but he was also kind of weird. So I don't know how much he actually read the books or retained it. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Well, that's all studying really is. You don't have to be in a classroom. You just have to have source reference material and an interest in the topic, or at least a reason to learn about it.
We used to say
Either
weird
way.
stuff when we were kids.
Keep using that word weird. I'm getting more and more concerned.
I'm trying not to be too mean because he is family, but he was out there.
What else would he have been doing to these books other than reading them?
I don't know, are there pictures?
Is it Scott or him?
Assume yes.
What did you say?
I said, let's assume yes.
She shrugs and says, he was out there.
Is he going to do something weird to the letter I send him?
She thinks on that one for a few moments.
I don't like that you have to think about this, Hinta. It should be... The only answer to that is no.
We haven't talked in many years. Last time I saw him, we were both kids, and he was a weird kid. Maybe he grew out of it.
I just happened to look. I just happened to glance
As soon as
down
it popped up.
right at that moment.
It's
I just
in the mole
happened
picture
to
book.
look down.
For those of you that are only listening and not watching, or if you're on YouTube, not Twitch,
It's
Wait-
Dikachu.
okay. And it's really big. You like did something that Twitch lets you do now, where it's really big.
Yeah, the Ambigify.
Yeah.
Now all I can imagine is
I need to find the bird training.
is her cousin's like reading books and like he sees that image in the books but nobody else sees it.
Strokeamon. Strokeamon. It's Dikachu from Strokeamon. Google at your own peril.
Oh boy. Yeah. Um. All right. He was a weird kid, and all right. Like, okay. I'll. I guess I'll write the letter and make sure that no hair falls onto it or anything of mine, just because I feel like that would be odd.
I'd say she raises an eyebrow, but she doesn't have eyebrows.
I don't know. You. Either way, yeah. I guess I'll write a letter. I've been writing several, so. Everything okay with the sword?
You didn't do any damage. Nothing permanent. Next time,
I've been
maybe don't poke wood with a rapier.
I was fighting for my life.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's why we train.
Look, I can't make any promises. I might poke again. But I will. I might do it again.
I can't make any promises. I won't poke. That
May I have?
yeah.
May I have the sword back, please?
It's one of those. She doesn't hear it until after you like change your demeanor a little bit, and then she hears it. I'd say she blushes a little, but she's already red.
I feel like Scott and Hinta really have blurred more the lines in this last few minutes than they ever have before.
No. She's her third cousin or whatever. She has not seen since they were children, and he was very strange.
Yeah, I can pick that up. Weird, even.
Yeah, very weird. Apparently, he's a weird guy. Let's see what his name. Weird name. All right, yeah. Mikhail will leave.
Hmm?
He will. Cool.
Do you actually write him a letter, and if so, how detailed do you want it to be?
It will. Yeah, he'll write about the specific. He'll keep it to like the water area. Basically, his observations on that. He's not going to go into the entire sacred geometry, but like where that place is, and like what he experienced there.
Okay, so you're giving him a literal explanation, not a theoretical explanation.
Correct.
All right. Like an
But
actual.
you hear this guy's weird. The first thing you want to tell him about is your experience being wet.
I don't tell him about the actual near death part. Just these things happen. This is what I observed.
Your reputation, man.
Listen, I hope I just never see this letter again. All right, whatever happens to it,
If you get the reply.
the look the courier gives me before they hand me the letter. Just,
I know what kind of parchment this is. It was black when we started.
you might want to wear gloves. No.
This is when somebody hops on
Isn't
Patreon just to create this character. Like, okay, I am going to make that guy. All right. So, anyways, his name's George. He also likes to wade through water.
I will give her the letter to send to him. I don't fucking know him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
And I also don't want to pay for
She
it.
says it's not gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna go out right away. She has, other stuff she's sending out in maybe a month or two, and she'll ship it out with that.
Yeah.
How hard is it to send a letter?
Well, because it's not going somewhere across a deer. It's going to Yovance. So it's actually going multiple countries over, and it's a country that's at war with Paradel. So it's not easy to cross through the Paradel.
Give it to Nathan to send out. He'll send it tomorrow.
Courier network to get there. What's up?
Have Nathan do it. He'll send it tomorrow. He's got people going to Yvonne's daily, probably.
Nathan might have people in Yovance he talks to frequently. Yeah. Beltran did. No. All right. Anyways, cool.
Yeah, that's before I got the ring, so I wouldn't have brought that up either.
And that concludes everything in Dathomir. You guys hop onto your ship, fire up the engines, and Aldo, can you make me a piloting check real quick? Make sure you guys are able to leave orbit without any issue.
Yep.
Go.
Oh, I do send that third letter I mentioned before.
Yeah. Not a problem.
Yeah. So I'm taking that out of my money.
And
Oh, damn.
your ship actually, the engines give out halfway through the atmosphere and ends up coming down for a very rough landing right on some particular guard's house. And she was in her 90 at the time. So, hey, Mikhail, good for you. No, I'm just kidding. You
Your
guys are
dex
able to...
modifier is terrible.
Listen, Aldo's just drunk again, alright? But he's just been a lot going on lately, alright? Books burning, other things becoming real that shouldn't be. You know, there's a lot on his mind.
Yeah.
That's actually there'll be one final thing before you guys go. Last
Okay.
thing. I meant to say this earlier, but then I realized when you were having that conversation, it was too early into the thing to say it. When you bump into Nathan one more time after like shoring up a couple like last details, maybe the book or whatever. One thing he'll say to you, he's like, because it was much earlier that you spoke to him or whatever. And you finally speak to Nathan, he goes, "Hey, remember that bird rumor, the Birdman rumor?
Unfortunately.
I tried looking into it a little bit, and I couldn't find any details. So, trying to figure out if this is a person or a creature, I ended up commissioning to have a similar-looking outfit made, and hired somebody to walk around the town as it. And I think the guy I hired just scared the shit out of the other counselor."
Rock? Ah.
This is when Nathan
Well,
dies.
he did see it.
Yeah. I hope it wasn't my guy. He swears it wasn't him. He said he would never go stalking a counselor or anything like that. But we all know how Curve Rock affects people. So maybe it was him that did it. Maybe it was the real Birdman. But anyways, I put an end to that shenanigans. It was tomfoolery, and it was causing apparently more mayhem than good. So
Yeah, there's a whole like bird hunt going on now. I had to stop Curve Rock from burning his entire collection of Telvanius's.
not exactly a sane guy.
He still burned some of them.
Foolish. Again, I don't think my guy did it. He claims he didn't. But
That's good. Who was your guy?
at this point I don't want to tell you. The situation is
That's
still a
fair.
little sensitive. But
That's
Since motive, it
fair.
was him. He did it himself.
that's just kink. Just do me a favor. Let me know if you hear any more about this bird situation in any of the other towns.
Yeah, I will. I really hope I don't. Birdman of Leshev.
And that's the last conversation of the session.
The escrow.
That's
All
right.
see you
the
boys again
escrow.
tomorrow night.
Yeah. In theory, tomorrow I'm going to Treetop Adventures at Rory to go tree climbing and swinging between trees. Just to go be a couple of little Ewoks. But if the weather's bad, I have to go Monday instead. But otherwise, family time. I'm busy. Sorry, Wade. Anything you guys want to say before we go? Keegan, anything exciting going on your session in 3 days?
It is in 3 days. The same stuff I said last time because we haven't had another session since then. They attacked a lady in her own room, and she ran away, and they chased her.
And she
And
went
one of my
invisible
PCs
in
jumped
the
out of a
rain.
window to
We
attack
caught her because of muddy feet and
Yeah.
disturbing.
One of my PCs literally jumped out of a window, like woke up out of bed, grabbed his weapon, jumped out of a window, and chased her down in the rain.
If they were mortifer, they could have just gotten bigger and blown their way through the side of the building.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, that happened. But she got away, thankfully, because I really didn't want my party to have a ring of invisibility. That would have been scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
They
you
get
cheated.
into enough shit as it is. I did not cheat. I was scared. I was fucking scared shitless.
I think the only thing worse than a ring of invisibility is like a hat of disguise, which somehow is cheap and common in accordance to the rules, which, at least according to 5Es, but cheap even in Pathfinder and 3.x,
Yeah.
which is insane.
Hat of disguise is scary. But yeah,
I know what we're looking for next.
they'll be, I think, I don't remember. I think they're getting interrogated by the guards at this point. If not, then they're leaving that city. Either way, it'll be fun, and I'm sure they'll do something I want them to not do. So, yeah.
Which is live.
Jake, we have hero
That's
points
gaming.
we could use +8 to find a hat of disguise.
Don't say hero point. I already spent it. It's already gone.
It's a good idea. Can we just combine the two and get a +16?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sure. Sounds great. But they don't exist, so you won't find one.
Seems false. They're in the rules.
Mm.
And you are a man who sticks by the rules.
The rules mean that there are rules of how it can exist, but not that it does exist.
God, I can't wait till I see you in person next time. I can just shove my foot all the way up your fucking rectum.
I run really
I
fast.
think somebody asked me to say something nice to you
For gerbil.
earlier. Just pretend I did.
Wow.
I probably did at some point. I'm pretty nice.
Roz? The rare Roz sighting? Well, we gotta go for another hour now.
Nah.
I think that is the rule, right? The Raza rule.
Roz, he's trying to get out of playing tomorrow.
Anything you gotta say before we go, Wade?
I love blueprints.
Show me the blueprints. Show me the blueprints. Show me the blueprints.
My
Show me the
YouTube channel,
blueprints.
go watch it.
Do you know the reference I'm making?
No, I'm not your level of old.
It's what's his name? Hold on, help me out here.
Hey,
Basketball
he's a young old
Diaries.
man.
Marlon Brando.
No, Basketball Diaries,
Genghis Khan,
Shutter
who else was around in your time?
Island. You know that
Andrew Jackson.
No, what?
Van Buren.
DiCaprio, Leonardo
Are you talking about
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio? Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio, the Aviator. When he has the character has a psychic breakdown, he's like, "Show me the blueprints. Show 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 me the blueprints." Is it over and over again? You guys never saw The Aviator?
Nope. No, I didn't watch it.
Oh, that's a good movie.
2004.
I mean,
It's like-
he was in a lot of good movies, but
It's like not quite Catch Me If You Can good, but it's really good.
pretty high bar.
But Catch Me If You Can is like you watch that movie once every 5 to 10 years. Aviator is one of those like you got to watch it at least twice in your life, but you don't have to keep going back to it. You know. Well,
And that's me. Thanks
that's
for your time.
welcome. Show me your blueprints. Bye, everybody. See you on Wednesday,
Unless.
or as we say it in my house, Wednesday.
Why would you say that anywhere, ever?
Because my daughter, her name's just like the
Does
other
that mean you're going to add
Aurora.
Guinevere to the World Anvil?
I don't think.
What?
I mean, you'll add Guinevere to the World Anvil at this point?
You know what's funny is I have, you can't see it, but I have Hodgwen more than half built. It's actually, I spent a lot of time this past week putting it together. And I'm just
God, that's
putting
almost like what I asked.
I'm putting the rest of the council information in there and a couple of the key locations in there. Like Gwen's shop. So I can then flip it to visible. So, but bye everybody. Oh, I have to raid.
Somehow
somebody.
you spoke for 20 minutes and still did not answer a single part of the fucking thing I said.
I gotta find
Very
somebody to
typical
raid.
Scott. Yeah.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
Blue
sounds about
Aether. It's almost like it's Wednesday.
Yeah, some people stream more than once a week.
Not Tyler.
Some days. Is he still doing the Tyler Tuesdays?
All right. Bye,
I'm
everybody.
on stream more than once a week.
What was that?
I said I'm on stream more than once a week. Just not this one.
I streamed twice today
Except
alone.
this time.
I used to do more. And then I had a second kid. And it was
You
really
have a
hard to
lake
get
for
two
this
kids.
exact scenario. You planned.
Once Gwen's a little bit older, it'll be easier. But
Then we go to the lake.
learn to
Taking
swim.
all
like
that
your
The
time.
lady of the
sister.
lake, where do you think those rumors started? It was my family tradition.
Oy vey. All right.
So what are you guys doing tomorrow night?
Bye, yeah, bye everybody.